there. Ref. Actually got the ball. Good evening, Tottenham fans all across the globe. Hopefully you are all having a great day. And it is, of course, Cup Day at Tottenham Hotspur, last 16 of the Carabao Cup. And if there's one thing I know, Tottenham fans are always up for the Cup, and we're super excited today. So hopefully we see a much better performance and a reaction from that Palace defeat only a couple of days ago and a no-show. So big game tonight in all regards. A lot of mind games in the press about Postecoglou potentially saying he's going to mix it up. Guardiola saying he's not going to take the game seriously, not put out his first team, blah, blah, blah. All good stuff that we're going to get into. Some of the lack of concerning words that have come out about lack of application, maturity, fight. You know, we're going to have our say on that, of course, around team selection. And a little bit that Paul O'Keefe dropped today about Eze, Gallagher and Neto, which is maybe something that I was saying over the course of summer. I don't think that Johan Lang knows how to get deals across the line the way Paratici did. And I do think Postecoglou was let down in the window, personally. So, all good, juicy stuff to talk about today. But first of all, let's get into it. Let's go around the panel, find out how each other is. Jack, how are you, sir?
Doing okay, Dave. Fresh off of cleaning up my coffee waterfall from earlier that I spilled all over the carpet desk below me. And it's something that, you don't really want to deal with, having to deal with coffee stains or spills. But I wish it happened maybe during the watch along or something like that. A 90th minute winner from Kulusevski, the coffee spills everywhere, all over the computer, all over the desk, all over the carpet. Because in that sort of moment, it probably feels kind of good. But doing it right before I could have chatted with you guys before the stream, a little bit inconvenient, but doing okay, Dave. Everything's all good. Look forward to hopefully a big Spurs bounce back, something that we can use to forget about Crystal Palace on Sunday.
No, bounce back would be really nice. And thank you very much for doing that debate show yesterday. People said they really enjoyed it. Tekken in the chat was saying he really enjoyed it as well. So big up on that. And thank you for allowing me to do the flat pack nightmare, which was actually turned into a real nightmare. When I was last in IKEA about 10, 12 years ago, everything came numbered, nice and neat in the instructions, simple to put together, 20 minutes, bish, bosh, bang, done. This one, no numbers, shit pictures. It was an absolute bloody minefield. Didn't finish till 2 a.m. last night, and then I had to get back up and finish it off this morning. Yeah, it was an absolute. So I do have to get onto them. Although, in fairness, I did save a bit of money. Some of the items were actually cheaper in the shop than online. So, sometimes pays to go to the shop. But look, enough about me. Down to Soren. Feeding the whole of the UK out, of course. How are you, my man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Hoping for a comeback win tonight. Just want to forget the weekend. Wasn't good enough. We need to move on. And hopefully tonight is the chance that we get it done. If we don't, it's not going to be a pleasant evening.
Are you in a different room because all the liquor is gone after Sunday?
I drunk it all on Sunday. Just Sunday into Monday, it just had to go. I was still got the headache, but hopefully sobered up enough to do this show and watch it tonight. In other words, I'm in another room. It didn't disappear that quick.
I really appreciate it. Really do appreciate your time today as well. Jack, I don't know, for some reason the slides aren't showing up for me, so I'm just going to bring them up like this. But Dermot, how are you, my man?
Yeah, I'm fine. All happy. Come on, you Spurs. We're going to win tonight 3-0. Dermatron is back. I'm back happy clapping. Too much. That video yesterday, I watched it, right? And I thought, that's not me. That's despicable. That's not me at all. So I've come in here bouncing, rolling. I've had my bit of pop. I'm ready to go. Come on, you Spurs. We're going to beat Man City. 3 wins out of the last 4 against them, and we're going to smash them tonight. So come on, you Spurs.
I really do hope so. Look, I've said this week, it's sort of the running joke. It's Spursy to no show against Palace, turn up, beat Man City. So let's see if we can do that tonight. Let's welcome some people in as well, and then we're going to crack on with the conversation. But the match details first. Of course, the game is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. tonight. Referee is Robert Jones. VAR, weirdly enough, there will be no VAR in operation, despite the stadium being able to handle it. If you want to watch the game in the UK and Ireland, it's on Sky Sports, USA, Paramount Plus, and in Australia, it's on beIN Sports. And then on to the injuries. Of course, Tottenham missing captain Son Heung-min tonight, Spencer Swell, and Wilson Udebert. It's not Crystal Palace, sorry. Like I said, I was in a rush. It's actually Man City. Rodri, De Bruyne, Walker, Grealish, Doku, and Oscar Bob all out as well. So that's all of your team news for tonight. I'm going to start welcoming a few people in, and then we are going to crack on. Big up, Adrian. Hopefully you're keeping well. Hopefully you're going to the game and enjoying yourself tonight as well, lad. Also, big up, Mark New. Good to see you. He says, we are City's voodoo team, and Pep knows this. Good to see you, Marky boy. We've got Big Pants awaiting Dave's prediction on today's score. I'm not giving one. I just want to see a better performance, to be quite frank with you. Big Pants. Cyprus Spurs. Evening, Dave and Jack from Cyprus. Not going to be comfortable to watch this one. I don't think so. A lot of people reference the couch. I did get a new one, so maybe I could hide behind that one tonight. Tekken says, good evening. All great show last night, Jack, with you and the two lads. Hope Dave's new IKEA furniture doesn't need a rebuild like our team does. Very about tonight. Come on, you Spurs. To be honest with you, about 4 hours in, it very nearly did. I nearly packed it in, to be quite frank. Good to see you. I know who this is. Nothing gives me more pleasure than watching Pep scratch his forehead at the Spurnabout in pain. Yids, big up. Good to see you. We've got Shemi Tan. Hey, Dave and Jack, back again, getting ready for a Spurs game, hoping they show up and actually play. Doesn't matter what team Pep puts out, Ange will make 6 changes, I feel. Let's wait. But you're right, it doesn't matter what he puts out. Big up George Carados as well. Pep said playing some academy players chance for a win then. Let's wait and see. Liston Hines will surely need us to spank them City cheaters. Got to get me out of my depressing mood I'm having regarding our team at the moment. Look, it's really up and down. I think that's the nature of Tottenham Hotspur for the last, 5 years at least. Big up Wilson T. Great to see you. Terry Wright, HD Sharp, Theo Isaac, Jack Bloom, K32 as well. Good to see you. Deflated after Sunday. Not expecting much tonight. Sort of the same opinion, lad. King Huddle, Jack is right. Andrew's not out of his depth, and we will beat most teams. The only question is whether he can impact change games in real time when Ange ball is failing. The evidence so far is unclear. That's a fair comment, guys. In the chat, let me know your thoughts on that. We also have Steve Dobo as well. Good to see you. Just a harmless potato. Daniel Field, Stevie D. Great to see you, Stevie. We've got Peter Simmons, Davey Clark, Darren Johnson as well. Great to see all of you. Faz Radfar, of course. Hopefully you're keeping well. Going to the match to defend my 100% win record. So it's down to Faz. Big up John Tucker as well. Great to see you. Balu, Mark Cook as well. As always, great to see you, sir. Absolute bore as always. Ange Boy, Gabrielle 1, Spurs GCTV, Daniel, RST as well, as always, says it just came out that apparently we don't want to pay the wages for Eze Gallagher. Unacceptable. The greed will always hold us back. Yep, we're going to get onto that for sure. Spurs GCTV, member for 9 months. Evening, gents. Come on, you Spurs. Good evening, Spurs GCTV. Hopefully you're keeping well. And look, always Coys, win or lose, it's always Coys. But hopefully today, we can have a bit of pride back in our team and back in that crest tonight after the Palace game on Sunday, lad. Big up Envy Joker Davies. How was the Kia furniture, Davo? To be honest, it was a fight. It was a long out, drawn out battle. David versus Goliath. But at the end of the day, David ended up winning. Perseverance is key. Sometimes you need to take a step back, have a good cup of tea, re-go at it, and next thing, bish, bosh, bang, it's all makes sense and it's put together. So there you are, Eddie. That's how that went. But like I said, after about 4 hours, it did nearly needed to go back up and do another run, to be brutally honest with you. MV Joker Davies also says, what's your opinion on the fact we could have gotten Eze Gallagher and Neto, but didn't because of wages and didn't want to pay cash for Neto? We will get into that. I'll bring up the full quote here from Paul O'Keefe. And basically, he said today, Tottenham could have signed Conor Gallagher. Ange wanted him, but we didn't because of wages. They also could have signed Eberiche Eze, but also didn't because of wages. So went for Pedro Neto. I lost him because Spurs refused to pay cash and wanted to trade players. So sort of my opinion off the back of that, just quickly, Eddie, and we'll go around the panel, is, there's a lot of talk about leadership, maturity within the squad. At times, Ange Postecoglou has had no choice but to use Werner. He hasn't been able to take out some players when they're not performing. And the reason why is because we didn't have the best of transfer windows. I said it back in the summer. I thought we let Ange Postecoglou down in the summer. I had a big problem with Johan Lang and how he conducted that window as well. And I think right now we're coming back to pay the price for it. And a lot of the questions being asked, I think, would have been solved if we would have got some of these players in the door, more experienced players and stuff like that. So for me, I just think we let them down. But what I want to know off you maybe, Jack, is, again, has Postecoglou been let down in this transfer window this summer? Because we're talking about leadership. The players we could have signed, like I said, they're seasoned pros, would have helped in terms of leadership, would have made us a better team and would have added more competition, and they probably would have provided better solutions in other games or off the bench, where we could have potentially turned results into wins and stuff like that. So what's your thoughts when you see stuff like that come out?
To be honest, it was a strange summer for me because I felt like a lot of the ITKs, did get a lot of stuff wrong. And so then when I see this here, I do wonder if it technically does check out, maybe with the kind of confusing stories about how we were linked with this player, that player, but then all of a sudden this one would come through the door that no one kind of quite expected. So perhaps a lot of them could have been on the right track, but it's just that Spurs, clearly had, very fixed, margins on what they wanted to get for some of these players and didn't really have a lot of wiggle room when it came to it. They came in with a set plan and a set price, I guess, and they didn't really much care about, I guess, the experience or the, maybe provenness, let's say, of some of the players that they were going after. It was just about the position and if they could save a buck or two, I guess. The other thing is, I feel like this last summer was kind of a summer where Spurs really helped themselves out, but they didn't help out Ange Postecoglou. I think Spurs got a lot of bad players off the books that were on pretty decent wages. Even though we don't pay that high of wages, they were pretty useless players that were on decent wages. Gio Lo Celso, Ryan Sessegnon, the Eric Dyers, the Sanchez's, the multitude of players, Ndombele's, all these sort of players that we've gotten rid of, over this time in the summer. A lot of outgoings, but a lot of those I think would sort of more or less have helped Spurs free up some cash, free up some wages that they just were continuing to burn. But then they only really brought in a lot of good young players, and it was like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 window when it came to young players. But when you look at signings for the here and now, signings for Ange Postecoglou, guys that can make a direct impact for his team, for his squad, and what he really wants, it was kind of like a 2 out of 10 window, 1 out of 10 window when it felt like in that department. Didn't really feel like he got what he needed or more or less what he wanted. And I think that's what's a little bit frustrating. It was kind of a window where Spurs and perhaps Daniel Levy kind of helped themselves out, getting a lot of outgoings, getting a lot of bad players off the books, and then also signing a lot of good, talented young players for the future that they'll be able to sell on for a ton of money, or at least have, as really good players that they know will eventually come good, that they didn't have to spend very much money on in general. So I think it was kind of a bit of a selfish window, if you will, from Spurs.
100%, because look, I think the young acquisitions we bought are very, very talented, and I think will go on to have a good future at Tottenham Hotspur. But I think, Soren, for me, the problem is, and I highlighted, they're not for the here and now. They are going to take time to bed in. You are going to see the up and down nature when you're relying on a lot of these youngsters as we are, like, to come off the bench and look to change games. And how do you feel about Tottenham not willing to pay the wages? When you look at some of the wages they've offloaded, Ollie Skip would have been on a decent chunk, Emerson Royale, Joe Rodon, Lo Celso, Eric Dyer was on nearly 100 grand a week, Ryan Sessegnon, Ndombele, Ivan Perisic was on over 100 grand a week, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Gil, Solomon, all players that would have been on quite decent wages. They've all been sorted out. So what do you make of Tottenham's refusal to give them wages to the likes of Eze and Gallagher, considering this summer they have lowered the wage bill absolutely significantly? There's no doubts about it. And I know there's been articles since that said, Daniel Levy sort of have put the club into a position where it's appetizing for investment, and that's maybe why we didn't do it. Do you agree with that? Is it, again, him sort of looking after his pockets rather than what's best for the football team?
Well, I mean, when I saw it, I just laughed. It's clickbait. It's bollocks. Somebody come on here now and tell me exactly what these three players asked for in wages, and then we'll discuss it, because they might have been asking for 300 grand a week. Well, why would we pay that? I mean, we already know that Gallagher was going to cost us more than what he went for abroad. So it was going to be another 20 million probably on top of what he went for. We don't know what any of them have asked for. We don't even know if it's true, because none of these in the know has actually got anything right through the summer, did they? I mean, what did they get right? Absolutely nothing. So all of a sudden they can guarantee that this is right. Well, yeah, maybe Tottenham did refuse to pay the astronomical amount of money that these players were asking for to come to Tottenham. I mean, Gallagher made it clear that he didn't want to come to Tottenham. So if he's turned around and said, oh, well, I want 400,000 to come to Tottenham, well, Levy's not going to pay it, is he? One is. That's why he's not in England. I mean, Neto, look, everybody was saying, I mean, especially with Gallagher, let's go back to him. Nobody wanted him. Everybody was saying we don't want somebody coming from Chelsea. He's a Chelsea boy. The fans were up in arms, and all of a sudden now, because we won't pay the wages, everybody wants him again. It's It's absolutely flip-flop, fans. It really is. And then we go to Neto. Look, we all know Neto is a quality player, but everybody was moaning that he's always injured. And then now all of a sudden, oh, well, yeah, we didn't want to pay money and astronomical wages. Again, what was he asking for? Nobody knows. It could be on an absolute fortune. And then you look at, I mean, Eze, the rumours were, well, we had to pay 50 million up front, and then he might be coming in and, I mean, I did hear somebody saying that he wanted 265,000 a week. Well, again, we're not going to pay Eze 265,000 a week, because that means you've then got to up all the other players. It's way above what anybody's earned at Tottenham. So it's all right, these articles coming out now, it's just to get the arguments. It's just something to read. Show me the proof and show me what they asked for, and then we'll discuss. Because to me, at the moment, it's just clickbait.
Look, I think you raise a fair point on Gallagher and Neto. A lot of fans did have their concern around these sort of injury record. Gallagher, again, people did have concerns whether he comes in and improves the midfield and him being Chelsea and stuff like that. I get what you're saying. But Dermot, Eze was a non-negotiable for fans. Eze was one the fans wanted to be delivered. And look, it looks like they had the opportunity. And a lot of people are arguing in the chat, this isn't the first time we've seen Tottenham have an excuse for not doing this sort of business to really help the team sort of kick on. What's your feelings on the whole situation? Or do you agree with Soren?
I actually agree with Soren, because I know I have a source who I trust very much, who's within football and who I get a lot of information through. And we only put out what we generally list as facts. We don't deal in rumours. And Eze didn't want to come to Tottenham. He wanted to go to Man City. Man City were in for him. That's where he wanted to go. So, and Gallagher didn't want to come to Spurs. Neto didn't want to come to Spurs. Chelsea offered him an absolutely unreal money to go to Chelsea.
But some would make the argument, look at the start they've made to the Premier League compared to us, though, Dermo. You have to pay these wages if you want to be successful.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Chelsea spent 1.3 billion. We're the third highest transfer spenders, as Soren said, and I saw the stat myself, in the Premier League in 2 years. 500 and something million. Look, we did well getting rid of the players out of the club. I think that's what we did very well. We did well at getting rid of the players. Could we have done better getting better players in? Yeah, probably could have done. But I agree with Son. I think this is just something to put out, to put the fans arguing. It's just been put out after a very bad result against Crystal Palace on Sunday. On Sunday, a couple of days later, this drops. I think it's just there to stir the pot, personally. And look, and is Lang good at his job? Look, I don't think he is. I think Paratici was better when Paratici was in charge. We were getting better players in and getting better quality players in. And I feel John Lang hasn't stepped up to that high plate that Paratici had. Mm-hmm. But look, I was hearing it all summer. Eze's coming. No, Eze wants to go to Man City. That's where he wants to go. Neto, does he want to come to Spurs? Well, not really. With Chelsea offered him something outrageous money. And Gallagher didn't want to come to Spurs. He wanted to stay at Chelsea. But Chelsea didn't want him, so he went to play for Atletico Madrid instead. So I think Paul O'Keefe's great putting out this tweet, and it's started a reaction. Great for him. He's done what he wanted to do. But it's a bit of BS in it in another way as well, because it's not the true facts.
I do feel there's a bit of hypocrisy there, though, to be fair, because, the reference is that these players didn't want to come. They're coming from similar people in the same sort of field, ITK journalists. So it's sort of seems like it's cherry picking to a degree.
It is a bit. What did they get right? Sorry. The in the nose didn't get a single thing right through the transfer window. So how come this is all of a sudden gospel? Yeah, I mean, look, we could all sit here and say, well, Chiesa was coming, but we didn't want to pay his wages. Well, where's the proof? Show me some proof that was right, and we can talk. But
do you know why I think a lot of Spurs fans on that? I know you say show me the proof, though, Soren, but we've seen with players in years gone by, other people who's worked at the club, it's come from their own mouth where it's sort of they've said about Tottenham being not playing, and when people see something like that, you put 2 and 2 together, it sort of correlates, right? Tottenham have a history of this.
I mean, the thing is, it's easy to say, well, they didn't want to pay the wage. Well, what were the wages? What was the demands?
Fair.
You know, it could be, well, oh, we want a £5 million signing on fee and we want 350,000 a week. And then all of a sudden it becomes, well, yeah, we're not going to pay. Now, if it came out and it was, well, Gallagher wanted 120,000 a week, you then question, you know, what the hell is going on? If Neto wanted £100,000 a week, you question what was going on. If Eze came and said, yeah, I'll come for you and I want 150,000, well, we're paying Werner 165. So you can't tell me that it was just down to an easy figure and we said no. There has to be more to it. Now, look, I am not, in this circumstance, I'm not trying to defend Levy because we all know what he does. And I get that. But you can't just come out and say, oh, well, we won't pay the wages without knowing the rest of the story.
Can I just add something to that just very quickly? I know we need to move on. During the transfer window, this is true, I would get a list every day of my person I use, and he would give me potential movements of the whole Premier League.
But is this not hypocrisy though, Dave, Darmo? Because you're saying Paul O'Keefe is an ITK, it's a lot of, you know, stuff to put out there and fluff up the fan base, but you're again referencing your ITK. So does it not just come down to who people trust at the end of the day?
It's down to who people, and I trust the person I use. It's
okay, that's fine. But then can you sit there and say that Paul O'Keefe is just putting it out there to start a fan base then, just because you don't believe in it? They're both in the same field. I never said I didn't believe him. I just find it a bit odd he's put it out 2 days after our worst performance against Crystal Palace. That's the point. He could have put this out at the end of the window. Why not put it out then?
No, but Dermot, what he's done, he's just been clever. It's like he's put half the story out and then left the actual facts out of the way. Yeah, we might have refused to pay the wages. Everybody can, you know, I don't think there's a Tottenham fan out there that wouldn't agree that that's probably true. But what were the wages? You know, that's the important bit. It's what were the wages?
I mean, look, from my own point of view and from my own, what I do, I get a list of players sort of in the morning. And it's weeding out fact from fiction. And it's very difficult to always say, this player's going here, this player's going there, because it end up going belly up anyway. So a lot of people in the business did get it wrong in the summer. But we cannot sit here and say Tottenham didn't do well because our outgoings were fantastic. What let us down was our incomings. We have backhand, maybe spent the money in the wrong areas, maybe spent the money in the wrong players. But you can get it right all the time. But, you know, I just feel if you wanted to put this out, why not put this out at the end of the transfer window? Why wait to 2 days after our worst game against?
I understand about the timing. I understand that about the time, and I understand. Look, that is a legit question. Why couldn't it come out, you know, after the window and stuff like that? I fully understand that. But for me, you know, it sort of comes down to ambition. And look, I'm not being funny, but my opinion after the transfer window, if anyone goes back and looks at the stream me and Jack done, I sat there and I sort of put 2 and 2 together. I came out with that Tottenham had to pivot in that transfer window, you know, that they were after other targets. And that's why you've seen some late signings come in. And that's why you've seen a lot of youngsters come in, because we pivoted in that window to save face. And when that story comes out, I'm not being funny, but that's why I sort of agree with it, because I'm not being funny. I'm not an in the know. I'm just a fat Irish gnome that sits here with my football opinions on Tottenham Hotspur. And if I could sort of see the wood between the trees on it, then that's why I sort of believe it. And I do think Tottenham has the history of it. I think someone like Eze, I think many of me fans would much prefer to see him than Timo Werner. Wilson Odobert, a young signing, but it's going to take time for him to come good. Eze would have had an immediate, should have, or you would like to think would have had an immediate impact. Conor Gallagher, I take the arguments, but, you know, if that's who Ange Postecoglou identified, then why didn't we bring in his number one midfield target to help him? And that's another bit of a concern for me. It just feels like we go so far under a manager when it looks like they're about to achieve, we sort of pull the reins and go in a little bit of a different direction and make the job difficult. And I think that ultimately that's why you see, along with other things, high turnover every 14 to 16 months in terms of management, because there's only so long managers to sit there and tolerate it before they blow up at Tottenham Hotspur. But look, Eddie, you started an absolute war, so I think you're going to have to take blame for that one, my man. But look, let's get into some lighter notes. We will start with you on this one, sir, and I do want to make the best of your time before we let you go, and then we'll get Jack and Dermot back in. It's a big day for Spurs fans. It's Cup Day. It's the last 16 of the Carabao Cup. The competition offers Postecoglou and Tottenham a chance to end Spurs' 17-year trophy drought. And look, it's fair to say, Tottenham fans, one thing I know about them, they absolutely love cup competitions. And when we go out of them early, we do not like it. Why do cup tournaments hold such a special place in the hearts of Tottenham fans?
Before I answer that, I'm just going to really quickly jump back to the last one, Dave. Sorry, but
yeah, work away.
You remember during the transfer window, quite early on, when we were supposed to be getting Eze, all the in the knows were telling us that everything was done with the player side. It was only the money to buy him. So if all the details were done and we agreed personal terms, why now is it saying we didn't agree personal terms? And I'm pretty sure Paul O'Keefe was one of the ones telling us that everything was agreed back then.
I don't know. I didn't go back that far to have a look.
I could be wrong, but you know, there were plenty coming out saying everything was discussed and everything was sorted. But anyway, cups. Look, I think as Spurs fans, especially of a certain generation, I mean, you know, these youngsters. I'm not talking about you. That's kind of all we remember. You know, the cups, the FA Cups. That was now a cup. If it ended in a year, ended in a 1, we were winning the FA Cup. You know, there was some absolutely amazing memories within those games, and it just seems that we've. I mean, you can go right back to the title-winning year, but you know, since then we've only really had 1 year, I would say, where we should have won the league, and that's when Leicester won, and we bottled it. Other than that, we've kind of, I mean, we've been thereabouts, but not quite. But the cups, I mean, if you look back over the last 23, 24 years, we've been in finals, we've been in semi-finals, we've had chances to win cups, and as we saw on Sunday, the team just didn't turn up, or something goes against us. I mean, you know, you look at it and you say our European Cup final was against Ajax, really, rather than Liverpool in the final. You know, that was our final, really. We were robbed to start. I mean, I'm not saying we would have gone on and won had that penalty not been given, but you don't know in hindsight. But the cups just mean a lot to fans. And let's just remember, at the beginning of this season, the same as the beginning of last season, the same as the beginning of the season before, all the fans now that are screaming for Ange out and Levy to go, a lot of them were the ones shouting for, we just want a cup. It doesn't matter where we finish in the league, we want a cup. Well, we're in the cup, and because we're not doing well in the league, they're all moaning. So, let's hope we can get the cup. It's a big ask tonight. I don't care what anybody says, even if Man City put a weakened team out, it's not a foregone conclusion. You know, we are talking about the best team in England, possibly the best team or one of the top 3 teams in Europe. So, look, let's just hope, let's just have our fingers crossed. Please, as a fan base, let's just get behind the team tonight. And if we win, let's just celebrate it. We don't need all the doom and gloom afterwards after we've won a cup. Oh, we haven't won the cup, sorry. After we've won a match in the cup. If we go out, then yeah, I mean, it all depends on the way we play. You know, please to God, I just want the team to turn up. If we go out and we've actually played and we've given it a real go, can take losing. Can't take losing the way we have in 1 or 2 games this season. It has just been criminal. You know, and I there is no defending the team against anybody when the players come out and do what they did on Sunday. And for God's sake, the next time we do play like that and they come out and say we weren't good, we actually know you weren't good enough. You don't need to tell us. Just take a look in the mirror and tell us what you're going to do to actually appease us, rather than just coming out and saying, yeah, we weren't good enough. We know.
No, 100%. I think many Spurs fans are at that point where they don't want to see the apologies. Look, fair play to Vicario. He recognised that after the game and was like that to the fans. But No, I was saying, I don't want to see them do that anymore. The only times I want to see their arms in the air is when they're winning, lifting trophies now at this point. I'm sick of all the reasons why we don't do something. Go out there and actually do something. Put the focus in on the football pitch. And Big Pants also says, Soren, that's all we have is memories. And I think that's why Spurs fans love the Cups, because, you know, people older than me of a certain generation, they watch Spurs pick up a couple of trophies every single decade and they have their memories. And I think that's why it holds such a special place within the Tottenham Hotspur fan base. 100% Big Pants. We've got a couple of chats. We'll take them and then we'll kick on and we'll ask Jack sort of, you know, what sort of reaction is he sort of expecting today? We've got Peter Kagaris, first of all, Jack. He's giving away 2 channel memberships. Who's the lucky recipient here?
We had Deli20, great name, and then also Joe Hong, also a great name. Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate the support. I saw that yesterday, you know, you might have disagreed with some of the opinions, you know, on the panel show, but hopefully you still saw some balance, at least maybe more on my side of things. You know, I was very much, you know, offering the question up, you know, about some of the pressure around Ange Postecoglou, but, you know, I sort of, you know, restored maybe hopefully some sort of hope or balance to maybe the opinions around Ange. You know, I had to be one of Ange's defenders. Normally, I don't always have to be. We usually have a very pro Ange panel sometimes during these streams, but enjoyed it yesterday. And thanks for leaving the comment and appreciate your support for the channel. Please take advantage of Peter's generosity. Come on, have your say on the fan shows. Have your opinion. Have your say on everything around Spurs. And also, if you'd like to, you know, after every game, you're welcome to send in a fan cam. And Dave and I would be happy to upload it to you for the channel. But appreciate your support, Peter. Thank you, sir.
Nah, big up, Peter. Really appreciate it. And look, you know, we have this. We don't agree with things, you know, in the chat sometimes. And look, that's good. But I love Peter. He's always here giving his support and you know, appreciates the channel. So big up, Peter, my man. Absolutely love that. Leighton Evelyn's in the house. Good to see you as always, sir. Please don't tell me people think we are winning. I'm sure there's a few out there that think we are winning, but look, that's okay. That's okay. If they want to, Leighton Evelyn, I don't know why it triggers you so much, my man.
He's been surprising me more this year, though, with some of his opinions. Sometimes Leighton will say, we'll win when you and I are expecting to lose. We're just never in sync.
Big up, though, Leighton. Good to see you. Eugene S says, why does this club make me so angry? I think many people feel like that. Spurs diehards, Tottenham till I die. Adrian Schrocker, transfer rumours for the most part are total BS. Only the 2 clubs involved in the transfer know the financial deal unless a multi-agent speaks out. Fair point. We've got Artist T. I personally didn't want Gallagher. However, he would be way better bench option than what we currently have. That's a fair point. We also have Joe in the house. Soren is right. Paul also said we would have a good window. Be very pleased, etc. And then we have PH family on my way to the stadium. A few beers, a nice win on penalties, and a kebab on the way home to celebrate. Sorted. I mean, does life get any better, PH? You know, you get to go to the game. You know, you get the excitement of penalties. You get to come out the right side, and then you get to go and have a kebab, which is probably one of the best foods on the planet. So big yourself up and enjoy your day, sir. Or ma'am. Sometimes I get them mixed up. So whatever it is, you know, it's 2024. You can be who you want to be. So big up PH family and enjoy yourself. Really appreciate the support. MV Joker Davies is also giving out 5 channel memberships. Yes. Jack, who had it gone to?
Big up to MV Joker Davis, and I apologize to him. I missed one of his super chats yesterday about the baseballs, and hopefully the Yankees can keep on winning, my friend. And he's gifted one out to Kiwi Spurs TV, Lib231 Gunner, Mr. Crazy D, Dean S, and then Michael Sinkina. Big up to Michael. Love that last name, by the way, or that
great
surname. But it's actually also been gifted out, it looks like, to maybe a gooner that's been watching the channel. So hopefully maybe a bit like Christopher, just enjoys, I guess, the content just while being a gooner, maybe not supporting the club, maybe enjoys the content, but really appreciate Edward, and please take advantage of the generosity. You also gifted one out to a Kiwi as well, Edward. So I'm not too sure if you know, you maybe intended that. You don't have control over that sort of thing, but there are people who clearly have been watching a lot of the channel. Dave figured that out the other day, that it's gifted out to people who've been watching a lot of minutes of the channel. So we appreciate you guys for watching us back, and take advantage again of Edward's generosity. Come on, have your say, and spread your opinions on the channel for fan cams or fan shows, please.
Big up, guys. Really appreciate it, Jack. We've got 3 more. Dermot's gifted out 2, and then Peter's gifted out 1 as well.
Midori Ringo. Wow. Again, these names just keep on getting better and better and better. And then P Dubs, the one and only. Good to see P Dubs back on the membership crew. Hopefully we get to have a chat with you sometime, my friend. And missed you know, catching up with you over in New York. He and I were able to meet up, have a good time, have a good chat about everything with Spurs, and would love to have a second catch up. This time it will have to be online, P Dubs. So come on, have a say on the fan show, or send in a fan cam after the game. We'd be happy to upload it to the channel, sir.
No, big up Peter and big up Dermo. I really appreciate support. And Eddie, absolute legends. And then Eddie also says, it's what I'm here for, Davo. Chaos, one more step towards a trophy.
Chaos
Look, I
merchant.
think I would hope every Spurs fan is here for chaos, to be brutally honest, because I think if you tune in anywhere, it's always chaos being a Tottenham Hotspur fan because of the up and down nature. So I think it's just something that, unfortunately, we have to learn to live with in our lives if we want to support this football club, Eddie. But big up, my man, and really do appreciate the support from everybody. Jack, on to you. Postecoglou has mentioned that he always wins a trophy in the second season at a club. If we don't beat Man City today, do you see this statement coming back to haunt him? Because one thing is certain, Spurs fans won't tolerate an early cup exit regardless who the manager is.
To be honest, I sort of liked and disliked when Ange said that. I like that he stands up for himself in moments like that. I like that he has that passion, that sort of grit, doesn't shy away from questions in any situation. He kind of actually faces it head on, speaks his mind, speaks very honestly, and also backs himself. And I appreciate someone that does do that, that does believe in themselves. You want to have that sort of person in charge. It's just that I've said this to you before, Dave. Said this to other people who might have agreed with me or disagreed with me on this. I do feel like Ange could benefit sometimes a bit more from saying something for about 4 or 5 minutes without actually saying anything at all. It's a real skill that some people can hone in life where you're talking, but you're not actually saying anything that really makes much sense or really in any way, you're saying any real opinions or any real type of, let's say, debatable type of thought or narrative or anything. And I think Ange would benefit from that when he's put under pressure, when he's being asked, let's say a prodding question by the media, because lots of times they are just looking for a sound bite. They are just looking for a quick little quote that they can spin and use against him, like you just suggested, right? They could use now these quotes against him if we don't get through tonight. And while I really like that he said, I'm confident that we'll win a trophy in my second season. Let's say, yeah, we just don't get it done tonight. Let's say rightly or wrongly, or even if we play well, it just doesn't go our way. It does end up kind of coming back to bite him and, put unnecessary media pressure on him. It's not really that serious. It's only media pressure. But I just feel like as a stupid word of advice from someone who has no idea what it's like to do what he is doing, my bit of advice to him would be sometimes just try to say something without really saying anything at all. And you can sometimes benefit from that because the media, you'd owe them nothing. Technically, you don't really owe them anything. You just owe them 3 minutes because contractually that's what you're supposed to do, is give them like 3 minutes of your time, but then that's it. Just say something for 3 minutes without saying anything, then you won't have to be called out for what you said 2 months ago or something like that, if you get what I mean. Conte, Jose Mourinho, they used to do it like pros.
No, 100%. Look, I completely get what you mean. For me, I think, Jack, they're quotes that have been taken out of context. I think, it's facts. He does win trophies everywhere he's been in his second season. I think it's been sort of used as if he doesn't win a trophy, he needs to go. I think it's been sort of brought out of context, and I think it will be used if we do, worst case scenario, if we do go out tonight and suffer early cup exit, I do think it's something that will be brought up to use against them in terms of, people would say Carabao Cup is probably one of our best chances of winning silverware. If that's gone, that's one cup down. It limits his Andrew's chances. So I do think it will be something that will be used to beat him with if we don't get over the line tonight. But I would say, like I said, I think it is a quote that has actually been taken out of context, personally. But moving on to you, Dermo, following Sunday's 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace, where we were outplayed, outworked, and lacked any passion or quality, fans are eager for a response with a win today. Do you think we'll see a significantly better performance this time around, especially considering Ange Postecoglou did say after the Palace game, the defeat came because of a lack of application. And Vicario said the team lacks fight. So what sort of performance then off the back of that can we expect tonight then?
But Tottenham's a bit bipolar, isn't it? You don't know what you're going to get with them. I mean, for somebody that suffers from mental health, I feel a bit like I could understand what Tottenham Hotspur is going through at the moment. You just need the right meds. Look, I expect them tonight to be all out fighting and win. You expect that because do you want to see reaction? Ange is going to want to see a reaction from these players tonight. But you don't know, Dave, do you? You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad when you've got Vicario saying, oh, there's no fight. I mean, hang on a minute. Half of them players on Sunday didn't play on Thursday. So they can't use the excuse, "Oh, we were tired." We weren't playing in somewhere like we were, like in Kazakhstan or somewhere like that. So it wasn't like we didn't have a long journey back. They played at home. So, you know, some of them players had no excuse for Sunday. And then they come out and said, "Oh, sorry, we had no fight." That's just an insult, not just to us as fans, but to footballers in general. I mean, I'm sure the four of us here, I mean, I'm nearly 50, 40 years on 50. My back's fucked. I've got a fucking heart problem. My knees are fucked, but I give 110% out there playing for the badge. And then you've got Vicario coming out saying, "Oh, sorry, lads, we just didn't have to fight today." It's not good enough. But tonight now they're going to be, "Oh, we're all up for the cup. We'll go for it. Give reaction." I want to see reaction every game, not just when it suits them. And then that feeds into the conspiracy or the not playing for Ange, or Ange just lost the dressing room and played it. And then it just leads into full conspiracy mode, which really does my head in. So look, yeah, there will be a reaction tonight. There better be. Look, we're playing Man City, and if they paid the kids, their kids are as good as their first team. So let's not joke ourselves around here. Man City are probably one of the best teams in the world right now in the top three, behind Real Madrid and Barcelona. So to beat them, to win a League Cup, you have to beat them anyway at some stage. So let's get it out of the way early. Beat them tonight. But these players owe us. They don't owe Ange. They don't own the owners. They owe us, the fans, a better performance tonight. They owe us an apology. And do you know what I mean? I give Vicario his credit. At least he was one. At least he had the balls to come out and talk to the media and talk to the people and have the honesty to say, "This is what's happened." I give him credit for that. But when I hear a player say, "Oh, there was no fight," alarm bells start going off in my head. I think, hang on a minute here. Is this history repeating itself again? And this is why I say Tottenham's bipolar, because you do not know what you're going to get from one game to the next. It's 45 years, Dave, for this. No wonder I'm grey. I'm going loony. 45 years supporting Tottenham, do you know?
Do you know what? Tottenham have most of my lifetime been up and down to a large degree. You know, it's always been sort of like that. Yeah. But look, for me tonight, I just want to see a team that go out there with a committed performance. I struggle to see how we're going to just flip the script and go out and put in a night and day performance against Man City tonight. My only hope is that maybe they took their foot off the gas against Palace and got complacent because they had one eye on tonight's game. But regardless, I don't want to hear it if it doesn't go our way. I don't want to hear players coming out, you know, apologizing and shit like that. I'm sick of it. If you really care, you'll go out there and you'll put in a performance tonight. You will sit there before the game and someone in that dressing room will get a hold of it and start speaking about what the cup means to Spurs fans. Start speaking about the history and galvanize the troops to go out there and put 11 men together and get over the line. Sometimes David does beat Goliath. In my appearance, in my case, it's all the time. My name is David. I always win. But usually David always beats, sometimes can't beat Goliath. And for me, why can't we do it tonight? It's just about them players having that understanding of what it means to us Spurs fans, what it means to the football club, and also having the desire, someone in that dressing room, to put it right for Tottenham fans. Let's see. There's a lot of talk about leadership, which we're going to get into. But let's see if anyone can step up tonight and galvanize them to give us fans what I think we deserve personally. But that's what I want to see tonight. Just a committed performance and show us that you do understand us fans, you know. But Soren, for the second time this season, Postecoglou attributed the team's struggles of defeats. One against Brighton was down to application, and the second one against Palace down to application. Vicario went even further, slating his teammates. He said, "We're lacking in fight and couldn't reach the desire displayed by Crystal Palace." In fact, what he actually said is, they fought hard, and I think we lacked that. We played good football, but at times we may lack the willingness to fight. They demonstrated a genuine desire to compete for something. Now, the last few words of that are very concerning for me. Do we not have a demonstrated or genuine desire to be out to want to compete for something within our own dressing room? And the fact that they play good football, but they don't want to muck in when they go and get stuff. And I've said that when they go and get stuff, the tough get going, and we don't. Is it a concern when you hear these words from management and players, Soren? Dermot said he's concerned. I said to you before the game I was concerned. Are we right? Should we?
Yeah, I mean, there is a concern. And the problem is, it's getting far too regular. You know, we heard it after the Sheffield game. We heard it after The ball, but what I don't get is, look, I mean, it's in the chat. It's been all over social media the last few days. Ange's lost the dressing room. Well, how come we can come out for half a game and play really well, and then the second, do you really think these players are going in and saying, do you know what? I don't want to play for the boss in second
Ange losing the dressing room is premature, surely.
I mean, we had this last season where, Ange's lost the dressing room. He'll be gone before the end of the season. Well, he's still here. And then all of a sudden we'll see a really poor game. So Ange's lost the dressing room again. But then we'll come, and if we win tonight, well, suddenly they're back on side. I mean, I'm either really naive or it just doesn't work like that. I mean, you can tell when the players don't want to play for a manager. And I do not think we're there yet. I agree. Just think it's one of those things with our players where it's complacency. And if it's not, I mean, you look, if we're playing well, all our players on that pitch, all 11, they're up for it. They are really up for it. And then as soon as it goes, suddenly there's a light bulb just turns off and the players don't know what to do. That's not losing the dressing room. That's the players' mentality. Yeah. And look, as much as, I didn't like Conte told us that last year or the year before. He told us that there is a losing mentality in the club, and it's been there for a long, long time. Now, we can blame Levy. Everybody's entitled to blame whoever they want. Them players have been to enough finals and semi-finals to have got success for this club. Tonight's another chance to go another round closer to being in a final. Now, we're playing Man City. If our team come out and play tonight, we can and we should win them. If they don't come out, it doesn't matter who they play, we're getting trashed. We're getting trounced. So it's down to the players. Now, we have a lot of fans, say, well, Ange just stands there on the side and he doesn't really coach the players. Well, in theory, Ange's job should have been done by that point. He's told the players what they're supposed to be doing. And if the players can't do that, then what's the point? I mean, look, I want to see a bit more animation from him. So don't come at me with that one. But I kind of sometimes look at it and think, well, what good is it doing? Because if I was a player on there and I was playing shit and I've got my manager shouting at me, I'm just going to pretend I can't hear you. And we've seen it so many times. I do it at work. I'll get a roller. There'll be somebody stood back there shouting at me.
Don't incriminate yourself here, Soren.
Yeah. Turn the revs up on the tractor a little bit more. Turn the radio up. Say, what? I can't hear. So look, it's all down to the players tonight. If the players, and the problem I think with the players, and it's different from years gone past. And this is where we say, football isn't a game; it's a business. These players are not there because they love Tottenham Hotspur. These players are there because they're earning a wage and they get paid whether they win or lose. They maybe don't get the bonuses if they lose, or I get that if the strikers score a goal, they'll still get a bonus, but they're still getting paid. You watch what would happen if all the players were suddenly right. Unless you win, you don't get paid. I wonder how many matches we'd win then. It would be a different scenario. And that's. I mean. Was it Asua Koto came out and said, I hate playing football, but I love earning the money? Yeah. And that's what modern football is. I don't care who you are. All this badge kissing, it doesn't mean anything. There are some players, Harry Kane was probably one, Sonny is probably another. But there aren't many players out there that when they kiss that badge or do, all they're thinking is, that's another 50 grand or another 100 grand or another 100. That's all they're bothered about. And us fans are the ones that sit here saying these players aren't good. Well, they are. They're earning the money, but they haven't got the passion to do. It's like us. If somebody said to us, right, there's a job there, go do it. Don't matter whether you do a good job or a bad job. I'm going to pay you the same money. What are you going to do? Yeah.
No, I agree. And look, you've heard Tottenham players come out before and say the money's been unsatisfactory and stuff like that. Look. For me, I'm concerned in general about, they demonstrated a genuine desire to compete for something. And I take your point. A lot of them are here for the money. It's the way modern football is, unfortunately. The old days of a lot of local players come through and play for your club, that's sort of gone now. Football has moved on. But it does concern me that Vicario does say, the Palace players showed a genuine desire to compete for something, and Tottenham doesn't. So I question, what's the goal this season then in the dressing room? What goals have they set? They all came out at the start of the season talking about trophies, so clearly they have one. So then why aren't they working to that? And when it comes to trophies, I think the problem is at Tottenham Hotspur, we don't have a lot of players that have been in them sort of situations, that don't understand the consistency that comes with it. When you go on runs like we do, 7 wins in 8 games, it shows that you have the ability to be able to do something. But that's when the hard work starts. And it's almost when the hard work starts, we get complacent. We shoot ourselves in the foot. And it does come down to leadership, which is something we're going to talk about in a little while. It's something I've been pointing out at Tottenham for quite some time. And Ange finally let the cat out of the bag today in terms of his press conference. And we are going to talk about that. I've got this from John Lee. I've got a couple of other comments. And then I want to go into Jack and Dermot. And I want to find out who's responsible for the lack of the fight and desire and application. John Lee says, panel, I have a question. If we lose against Man City or not, any cup this season, maybe finish 5th or 6th. I don't get. Can you make sense of that question?
So just quickly, I'm not sure if Soren has to go. Soren, should we let you go right now? Is that all right?
Do you have to go?
If that's okay, yeah. I'm just going to say 3-1 Spurs. Come on, get behind the team, lads. Ooh, and that was a red light, really.
Great job as always.
By the way, really appreciate your time, my man. I know you're under a lot of pressure in that, and I wish you all, man, well from us here at the Irish Hotspur.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a good time, Soren. Bye-bye.
What I think John Lee is saying here, Dave, is I could be John Lee. Get into the chat. Let us know if we're mistaking this. But I did hear this from Jason Cundy and O'Hara last night on TalkSport. They were talking about kind of the desperation for trophies at Spurs. Like, would you take like a 9th place finish and a Carabao Cup trophy under Ange Postecoglou? And would you classify that as basically a success, for Ange? And, I kind of was, a little torn on this, because then Jason Cundy sort of suggested, like, if Ange finishes 4th, but doesn't get a trophy this year, that still would be pretty tremendous. And then sort of, O'Hara was saying, well, if you're Spurs, like, a trophy would, be actually enough, to be considered a success, even if you were to finish outside, let's say, the European spot. So I'm not sure if I have John Lee's thing perfectly right, but I think that's maybe close enough to maybe what he's kind of saying. Like, would you take a Carabao Cup in 9th, or would you take another 4th, let's say, place finish, Dave? Twisted that way.
Look, Jack, I'm sort of the opinion, right? Don't get me wrong. I love watching Tottenham on the weekends. I love the Premier League, but I've been there, I've done that, right? And we've never really kicked on. And at the end of the day, I was sitting there a while ago, and I'm sort of thinking, the one moment I really that sticks out in my mind for Tottenham Hotspur, bar the Champions League final. The other one was winning that Carabao Cup, or whatever they call it back then in 2008. I remember exactly where I was the morning, the day of. I was celebrating with my dad and my uncle and stuff like that. And it's sort of like where I'm at now. I want the memories, right? I want the trophies. That's what I want at the end of the day. My dad sits there. He talks about the great nights. He's so frustrated with what he sees now at Tottenham Hotspur, because he's used to Tottenham picking up trophies and being good cup teams. And in years gone by, we haven't even had that. We haven't even gone anywhere in cups in years, gone by, bar the one that we got to the final under Jose Mourinho. Apart from that, it's been pretty bleak. So for me, I'm all about winning a trophy this season. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I want to go down to the bottom half of the league or even be mid-table. I do want us to try and make a stab for top 4. In fact, I actually want us to act like a big club. I think it's a bit of and I'm going to contradict myself here, but I think it's a bit of a loser mentality to say, I want one or the other. Big clubs, they don't do that. They take the all in their stride. They want to win it all, and they find a way to be able to try and make that a possibility. And I think that's where we need to get to at Tottenham Hotspur. I think for far too long we're sort of made pick and choose. I don't want that anymore. I want to start acting like a big club and competing for absolutely everything. That's what my hopes and dreams are going into every single season, John. But big yourself up, my man. and really appreciate the support on that, brother. Absolute top notch. Let me know your thoughts, John. Let me know what you would like as well, lad. Big yourself up, and I really do.
I think he said he would take, a trophy in 10th place position. He said, I think a trophy is most important. And he said more or less, I think we got the question right. So I'm glad that I was able to interpret it as best I could.
Big up, John. Really appreciate the question. Hopefully you know my thoughts on it. Let me know your retort, brother. Big yourself up. We've got a few more comments. We'll take these as well, and we'll crack on with more. All right, Steve says, Dave, do you agree we don't have any impact players unless we're playing draws? I don't trust the subs we have. If we're down by 1 goal, we don't have that guy. Even Ipswich does with Liam Delap. Look, I really like Liam Delap. I actually pointed him out to Jack before the season. I said to him, watch this guy thrive. He's going to have a good campaign. He's got it all. Look, when it comes to the bench, and it's sort of what I said in the summer, like I have no problem Tottenham bringing in young players, and I have no Tottenham promoting young players. But for me, and I think it's always healthy to have a few young players around to keep these senior pros honest, keep them on it, and I think it can be influential, like Mikey Moore against AZ Alkmaar, right? If he didn't go out there and start taking the game to them in the second half, would we have won that one? Probably not. So he inspired others around him to make that happen. But I think we missed a trick in the summer with the amount of players we offloaded. We had an opportunity to stack that team with more sort of senior players, and we chose not to do it. And look, I like Archie Gray. I like Bergvall. Look, Bergvall was done in January, but I like Archie Gray. I like Udabar, and it's nothing against them. But did we really need to go out and buy them when you have the likes of Donnelly, Dorrington, Tyrese Hall? You have the likes of Mikey Moore there, for instance, Will Lancashire. I'm not quite sure that's the direction we needed to go in. I did think we need to fill it out with more senior players. And look, when you look at the bench, Timo Werner, right? We need jerked in the summer. Didn't need to do it. Don't know why we went so early. Does anyone have faith when you see him on the touchline, fucking warming up? I don't. Richarlison coming back from such a long layoff, it's hard to expect him to really have any impact. It's going to take him a while to get going. Then you look at Archie Gray, Bergvall, it's more hope than anything, right? When you look at the bench, probably not, to be honest with you. RST, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the question. Ugly Fish says, the way we celebrate our wins tells us they haven't given up on the managers. Players look very happy when it's going well. Fair point. Charles Ingram says, when I have the least confidence of us winning, we pull out a shockingly brilliant display. So judging by that, we should win comfortably tonight. I really do hope so. And I think many Spurs fans are probably using that logic tonight, lad. Stevie Fraser, I'd love a brilliant performance to help the unconvinceables relax a bit. We've got J-Mac. When teams come to get physical, we need to overcome that in order to play our football. You've got to earn the right to play. It's the old saying with football, and some things in football don't change. No matter, despite the tactics, the new ways of playing and everything else. Some things, some fundamentals simply stay the same, J-Mac. Big yourself up. We have Ange Ball. He says, big up all, massive, and come on, you Spurs, DB. Welcome in. My man, as always, good to see you. He's back for more pain.
Good to see you,
We've
DB.
got Patrick Duffy. Who, Dave, name one leader we have. I'm going to get into that now in just 5 minutes, Patrick. We've got Slow Jamrod. Evening, gents. Good to see you as always. Steve D says we've 5 players on 100K. Arsenal players have 5 on over 200K and a further 12 on over 100K. So sort of correlating to the point about, you pay the wages. Yeah. It sort of correlates on the football pitch. And Paddy Harner, as always, good to see you. Afternoon, folks. I could not care less about 4. I want a trophy. No one remembers. Sure. Second. Fair point. Fair point there, Paddy. We've got Moondog in the house. Good evening, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Let's do this tonight. Yeah, in the robes of Don Robbie. Let's do this. Hopefully I haven't jinxed it, but big up, Moondog. I really appreciate the support, brother. And let me know your score prediction for tonight, Moondog. And
any bets.
And the perfect match. Remember, for 8 months. Big up, gents. Going for a 2-1 win tonight. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Kate and Jimbo. Really appreciate the support and you tuning in as well. Hopefully you have a great show on We Are Tottenham TV. And you know what? Just hopefully we can get the win, because to be honest, my last few days have been a living nightmare because I'm trying to do stuff and all I keep thinking about is Tottenham. It's in the back of my mind, that Palace game. And I just want the win so that I can have a free run this Sunday without a care in the world. Is it too much to ask for, Tottenham Hotspur? Is it really? Please give me that peace of mind for the next few days. Big up, Kate. Good to see you in the house. But Jack, as I was speaking with Soren, about the words from Vicario and Postecoglou, lack of application, desire, fight, etc. Who's responsible for that then at Tottenham Hotspur? The individual players on themselves, the squad's leadership, or Ange Postecoglou?
it's a mix of all, but I think majority of it does fall on the players at the end of the day because they are pretty much incentivized and paid quite handsomely to be switched on, to be focused, to pretty much give their all in every single game that they're suited up for. I mean, they're pretty much given every possibility to try to perform to their peak powers, to their peak
Mm,
ability, right? There's nothing that really should, unless there's something crazy that's going on outside of the pitch, right? That could be distracting them. Then I think that's totally understandable and definitely a fair excuse. But for the most part, it should start with the players. They should be able to motivate themselves. I think we've heard Simon Jordan say that. We've heard Roy Keane say that as well. Players should be able to motivate themselves. They should be able to be their own leaders before they have someone else, need to motivate them or get them switched on. Then it does fall, I think, on the captain. After that,
mm,
it falls on, those guys who already are good enough at motivating themselves, but then have the charisma, they have the likability, they have the respect, earned from other teammates that they can then motivate players. If things do get tough, if people aren't playing well, they can tell guys to switch on and people will listen. People will take them seriously and will follow their every move and follow their every word. So it falls on the
mm.
captains after that. And then if you were to go a little bit further down the ladder, and I don't mean up the ladder, I think it's more
Which,
down the ladder. I think it's Ange Postecoglou and the manager, because the manager, is responsible for appointing the captains, appointing the leaders of the team. But then after that, it's up to the players to deal with it themselves. And if he sees that something is going wrong and he can tell that something is going wrong, then he has the power to step in. He has the power to try to motivate them, maybe pick new
mm,
leaders, maybe rejig sort of the dynamics of the squad in the dressing room. But for the
mm.
most part, it shouldn't have to be Ange's responsibility every single match. It should be the players' responsibility every single match.
Mm. See, here's where I feel sorry to a large degree because I think at Tottenham Hotspur, and it's not just
Oh, I think
just turns to the manager. And this,
I think you're kind of lagging out a bit, Dave. Unless it's just me. Is it me, Dermot? I think you're on mute there, Dermot.
So I think Dave is lagging out a little bit.
Yeah, I think Dave is
Yeah.
lagging out there. Well, what are your thoughts on maybe what I was just saying then, Dermot? About sort of the lack of fight, the lack of, kind of passion in some of these games, or just players clearly not being able to meet the physical demands of a game like Crystal Palace, where they were just bullied, outthought as well, tactically, in my opinion. But the players should bear a lot of responsibility for games like that against Crystal Palace. Sorry, Dave, I was just sort of
yes,
stalling. So what
just
were you about to
quickly.
say?
Yeah, sorry about that because I was in the middle of flow and then all of a sudden circles started happening. I think, Man City's trying to affect my internet and get in my head for tonight. What was I saying? Can anyone refresh me on my last sentence?
We were talking about like responsibility of like leadership and responsibility of players motivating themselves,
yes.
and Ange Postecoglou, how much responsibility does Ange play in that sort of thing?
So as I was saying, I think when we lose at Tottenham Hotspur, I think a lot of people's immediate reaction is to sort of turn to the manager and put all the blame on him, which I don't think is 100% fair. Because Ange Postecoglou, he works during the week on what he wants from them. He works on tactics and stuff like that. When it comes to game day, all he can do is go in and give a few words. But you know yourself, like any human being, if you're in a job and a manager's trying to motivate you and your mind is elsewhere, you're not listening. It doesn't rub off. So all he really has is a speech or control in game to recognize it, get him off the field, and get someone else on. That's all he really has, or an opportunity at halftime to try and rectify it. When it comes down to simple things like someone not putting in the effort to track back a player, someone not putting in the effort to go and press a player, someone miscontrolling or someone switching off and not following a run, that comes down to the individual. And at Tottenham Hotspur, that happens an awful lot. And not just this squad, in previous squads as well. It happens an awful lot. And I do think on match day, and especially when the match is going, it comes down to the individual pride in your performance, making sure you want to be the best on that football pitch, making sure, for instance, if you're a defender, you keep a clean sheet, or a striker, you're doing everything you can to score a goal or drag your team up the pitch. And sometimes when I look at Tottenham Hotspur players, I ask myself when they leave the pitch, have they given their all today? And I can't say that for a lot of them sometimes, and it really annoys me. But ultimately, I do think it comes down to what Paddy says, and I've said this a number of times myself. When Tottenham Hotspur have developed the culture where it's okay, you can come to Tottenham, it doesn't matter what you do, you can piss about. if the manager ain't getting results or getting the best out of you, it doesn't matter who you are. We're going to sack him. We're going to bring someone else in. And what you allow, and when you keep routinely doing that, is allowing the players to have the power and allow that culture to set in. And we've had the wrong leaders at Tottenham Hotspur for a while. And that culture was allowed to set in. When you see players coming in, forming the cliques they do and stuff like that, when you see the high turnover of managers, it stinks of really poor leadership within that dressing room. And that comes from the top, because realistically, when you buy a player, after 2 seasons max, if he's not good enough, you bounce him out of this football club. But we don't do that. We put them on bigger wages. We offer them contracts when they don't deserve it or they haven't been available for selection and shit like that. And we keep kicking the can down the road. It's not good enough. If we develop more of a ruthless approach to the squad in terms of the ownership, then a manager can come in. Then he can sort of implement things. Then he can get tough on the players. Right now, if he gets tough on the players, first thing they're doing is tattletaling to Daniel Levy. All of a sudden, it comes out, there's a rift in the dressing room, the manager's gone. The players need a culture where the manager basically can get tough on them, because sometimes, I'm sorry, you need criticism in life sometimes to be able to respond or realize your flaws to be able to fix them. It's the way of life. And our players, and I think it's the thing with modern day players, a lot of them, they don't like it. They do not like being told that. And I think it's a huge problem. But Dermot, do you agree with Paddy then that it also comes from the top as well?
Yeah, look, I hear what you're both saying. Look, I can remember a time, probably football's different to when I started watching football, when you had 5 or 6 or 7 captains on the field. You didn't have to have a captain to be a captain. And if you didn't do your job right, they would tell you there and then, you're not doing your job. And I just feel players now are probably too soft. Players are there's too much money in the game. So the players feel, well, all I've got to do is just turn up and do my job. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm still going to get paid the same money. And I just feel players don't care. The players back in the 80s, I keep going to the 80s side, but players like Graham Roberts, Paul Miller, Tony Galvin, Ozzy Ardiles, back to Pat Jennings' time, Danny Blanchard's era, Jimmy Greaves' era, Martin Peters, Martin Shivers, Steve Perryman. I mean, they all bled for the club. All of them bled for the club. Steve Perryman came through the ranks and captained Tottenham to 2 FA Cup wins, and he was, and a UEFA Cup win. He won trophies in the start of the 70s and trophies at the start of the 80s. He bled for the club. Graham Roberts bled for the club. You wouldn't get them players today, looking back at them. And I always say it, a club has to build off your history. And we had leaders. There's no leaders in today's game. The likes of Roy Keane, the likes of players like that don't exist in the game anymore because it's a suffer mentality. Did they know the players have too much power? Where before the clubs had the power, now the players do. And it's wrong. A player can call the shots, can go up to a chairman. I want that manager sacked. You haven't got that 20, 25, 30, 40 years ago. He'd be told to fuck off. Go out and do your, excuse my language, but go out into the pitch and do your job. Do your job what you're paid for. And it's got to the point where football isn't football anymore. And I know football's changed over the years. I know society's changed. I know everything's changed. But the mentality of going out, doing your job, you want to do your job to the best of your ability. Doesn't matter if you're a dustman or a road sweeper. I worked in construction all my life. If I went out and do a job, I want to do the best job I can do. That I at home, when I go home, have my dinner, I can sit there thinking I did the best I could today. Even doing YouTube, like you guys as well. You know, you want to give the best show you can give. You want to give the best content you can give. You want to sit down afterwards, after you do a show on YouTube, thinking, do you know what? I gave my everything to
It's very kind of you. A lot of people say it's car crash, damn it. So I appreciate that.
No, but do you know what I mean? You want to give the best of your ability. And players today are not, they don't care about that. And it hurts. And it's sad. But it's society as well. We're like this in society. Nobody wants to take responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always pass the buck. When I was growing up, and when you were growing up, Jack and Dave as well, when we were youngsters, I know Jack's a bit younger than me. He's from a different generation. Dave, I'm from a generation before you. But I can tell you one thing, the three of us grew up in every generation that all had to take responsibility for your actions. Today's players don't have to do that. There's no leaders. There's no nothing. So I feel it's a culture within football. It's not just at Tottenham. It's within football itself that it's a mentality of no leaders. And I think I can't put it any other way. I think it's just the way it is.
No, fair. Absolutely fair. Look, I think the mentality is in general, the mentality is the biggest thing to try and change at Tottenham Hotspur. And I think that's going to be the longest thing to sort of change in general. And that's why I do think the manager needs time to sort of change that, because not only is he trying to change the mentality within the squad, and I think once he changes that, I think that will come with the fan base, but he's also got to try and change the manager of that, you know, the mindset of Daniel Levy, a bit like what Paratici done to a degree. Okay, Daniel Levy, I understand exactly what you're trying to do, and I understand you're a money guy. Yeah, like, you know, there's things I can do for you where I can bring players in now, we can pay for it down the line. That's music to Daniel Levy's ears. You know, I can go and get some of the best young players at a really good price for you, Daniel. You know, that's music to his ears. And unfortunately, that's what a manager has to sort of try and do at Tottenham Hotspur, you know. He's got to try and make him see the benefits of putting cash in somewhere like Paratici. Daniel, put the money into the academy, put money into young players, because even if they don't work out at Tottenham Hotspur, you're going to make a fortune off them. You know, you've got to put it into a way that he understands. And that's a huge problem at Tottenham Hotspur for any manager. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of the managers have that sort of patience. It's like, look, if you don't want to, you employed me. If you don't want me to bring success, then look, I'll just bounce out and go somewhere else and do it. So we're in a bit of a sticky situation at Tottenham Hotspur, but we've got a few chats to get to, and then we will keep cracking on. Jacob Anderson, member for 33 months. Good to see you, sir. Adios, amigos, as they say down in Latin America somewhere. He says, I think the problem with recruitment that Spurs are seen as the team you go to so you can move to a top club. It's because we are known as a club that does not win trophies and occasionally gets top four. And I think you're absolutely spot on. I do think a lot of players that come to Tottenham Hotspur see it as a stepping stone. I think they all reckon, look, I think the whole footballing world, if you're footballing fanatic, you know Tottenham Hotspur's got history. I think they recognise that. They also are aware that we're one of the big clubs in the Premier League. You look at our record, we don't get relegated, so there's no threat of that. So they're going to be playing at a good level for however long they're here. And ultimately, you know, I think the likes of Real Madrid, it's proven, and other clubs to sit there. What gems have Tottenham got? We'll have that one. Thank you very much. And they're off there. So I do think that's you know, I do think that's the case, Jacob Anderson. Absolutely spot on, my man.
Yeah.
But I just wish we could get a few that go, do you know what? That was my original plan, but I absolutely love this club. I love the fan base. Like Romero, we call him the Ron Bomb and everything. Take that, feel that, Romero, and just give back to me. Even if you just go, look, Dave, I'm going to do this for him. You know, just do it. Make sure you want to stay at Tottenham Hotspur and deliver trophies. And look, what annoys me as well is it would be within all their interests the club become a very successful team, because a lot of them will all end up getting picked off then at that point. You know, so I don't understand it, Jacob. Jack, anything you'd like to say to him?
Nearly looks like 3 years of being an elite member, by the way, Jake. I really appreciate it. It's just ridiculous you've tolerated us that long, and hopefully we can try to find more ways to repay you back.
2 seconds. The missus just in the door. I just need to speak to her for a second.
No problem. Jacob, though, hopefully we can try to find a way to repay you back for all the loyalty that you've shown to us, especially even as an elite member. It's very, very generous of you to support us for that long. And I think Spurs, I didn't have much of a problem in the past with Spurs being a bit like that, where we were kind of a club that if you did come here, you could, you know, really develop as a player, play at a really highly competitive level, but then probably saw Spurs as a slight stepping stone to the likes of the most elite clubs in the world, the Manchester Uniteds, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, and Bayern Munichs of the world. But I do feel like maybe in the last 5, 6, 7 years, maybe since kind of the end of Pochettino, I think we've had opportunities to try to step away from that, to try to move away from that sort of reputation, maybe amongst the players in football. And I don't know if we've necessarily completely gotten rid of that, maybe aura or that sort of, you know, kind of ethos where it does feel like maybe players could still use us as that stepping stone, as, you know, to an elite club of some kind. And maybe it's kind of down to Daniel Levy, it's down to the recruitment team, and it's also down to the managers to try to improve maybe our status, as well as, make it more enticing for players to want to stay here, for players to want to be here, to win trophies here instead of elsewhere. And I don't know how you necessarily go about that. I don't have the answers to everything, but I do feel like Spurs have had, maybe the last 5 or 6 years, have had opportunities to move away from, being that sort of club to being a club that really can entice players to want to win trophies here instead of elsewhere.
No, big up, Jake. I'm sure Jack answered it astoundingly. Unfortunately, I was speaking to Mrs. I didn't get to hear everything, but big up, Jacob Anderson, my man, and really, really appreciate the longevity of your support. A true Irish Hotspur fanatic. 3 years as an elite member. What an absolute legend. Jack, Rob Wallace, you're going to have to use that voice box again. Who's he gifted them out to? Big up, Robbie. Good to see you, sir. Hopefully life is treating you well. Down under, my man.
Very, very generous of you, Rob Wallace. Also, earlier, I think we might have just earlier in the chat missed one from Peter, who I think gifted one to AR. So thank you very much for that, Peter. But Rob Wallace has gifted one to the Convict and the Jew. Interesting name. Jess Arnold, Ben Francis, Connor, LD, Batty Goal, James Joris, Gregzellent. Love that name, Gregzellent. George Kadaris, Jackson D. Silva, and then Clean Planet UK. Great name there. Love that. But everybody, please take advantage of Rob Wallace's generosity. And thank you, Rob, for being so kind to us over the years. I feel like you've been with us almost probably, if not longer, if not around the same time that Jacob has clearly been supporting us. I feel like I remember your name even before I was around this channel, to be perfectly honest. So, Rob, very, very generous to us, and we appreciate you, sir. And thanks for spreading the love of the memberships and Irish Hotspur community. If you are a member and you've just been gifted that membership, take advantage of it. Come on the fan show. Come have a chat with us, or send in a fan cam. Please take advantage of it. And also, you do get to grow closer to the community. I promise you that.
And big up, Rob. He's, even though his life is busy, he still finds time to pop in and out. So big up, Rob. Really do appreciate the support, like my man. And look, hopefully you're not busy and you actually get to sit down and watch today's game, lad. Big yourself up, Rob. Do let me know in the chat though how life is keeping, sir. And then I can't give away who this person is, but they are in the stand today. Big up. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. Hopefully you have a great night. Says, I smell a Timo hat-trick in the South stand. And look, we are going to get on to that. Who's going to start a left wing. I just have one or two more talking points I sort of want to get to before we sort of get into the left wing position, because for me, I think it should be the only position really up for grabs tonight. And I find it hard to believe that Mikey Moore's going to start 3 games in 6 days as a 17-year-old. So I do think we might have to put up with it tonight, to be honest. But I do have a question as well. Like, at what point does it become not good for Timo Werner, Tottenham, and Ange Postecoglou, like counterproductive? At what point does just pursuing with it come counterproductive to Tottenham Hotspur? Be interesting. Or let's see if Richie gets a run out there. But let's wait and see what happens. Lineups, I was told, should be out in the next 10 to 15 sort of minutes. So yeah, big up. Hopefully you enjoy yourself at the stadium, and hopefully we get the win. Really appreciate the support.
A hat trick of misfired shots maybe into the South stand. So get your catching practice ready. Be ready for some souvenirs from Timo, maybe hitting you up in the South stand. Big up though. Yeah, love that support. But I'm not sure if a Timo hat trick's in the car, but maybe a hat trick of misfired shots.
Yeah, you might. Jack's right. You might want a riot shield to start batting them big high and wide shots away, to be honest with you. But enjoy yourself at the game, and hopefully you have a great evening out. Slow Jamrod, how many changes would you will Ange make tonight, Dave? Slow Jamrod, my man. Oh, I think you might see a few. I just hope it's not as drastic as some of the comments may lead us to believe. I'm hoping it's more mind games. Slow Jamrod. If there's certain players out there that are playing, I think it could be a long evening, but let's wait and see. Slow Jamrod, big yourself up. Russell says, all I want from tonight is a good performance. Yes, City will probably win, but let's make them work for it. Please, Tottenham, not another performance like the weekend. I think he sums up many Spurs fans' thoughts there. Big up, Russ. We've got DB, good lad there. Speak to the missus for just 1 second a week. No more unless it's an emergency. I'm pretty sure you summed up her feelings, DB, quite there, to be brutally honest. But you know what? She knows I'm a busy man. She knows that this sort of keeps me happy and stuff like that. And plus, I don't have to unload Tottenham's problems on her. So it's probably a win-win for her, to be brutally honest with you, on that one, DB. We've also got Greg Excellent. He says, thanks for the membership to Rob. Big up, great name. Ed Sweating says, what do you think about the starting 11? Surprised Richie, Bergvall, Davies are all starting. I don't know if that's out yet, but if that's true, I think we're in for a long, long evening, Ed, to be quite honest with you. And then Steve D, Took me a year or so before I trusted you two enough to become a member. Look, at the end of the day, you know, I get it. You know,
That's
no
wise.
one knows us like personally. I like to think we're honest and open with anyone who does want to have conversations with us and stuff like that. But you know, look, I really appreciate it, my man. Absolute top notch. Big up, Steve D. I think he's probably joking, but let's wait and see. But big up, Steve D. Really appreciate the support, brother. Absolute legend. You do crack me up, even though we don't agree on absolutely everything either. But big up, big up on that one, my man. But look, let's keep it going. I do want to have a quick maybe chat around the leadership, because here's Postecoglou's quotes, lads. Right? He said basically, we're struggling. We're struggling in difficult moments because we lack some maturity and leadership. Now, there's two ways of dealing with that. You can either go and buy it, acquire it, or you can wait for it to develop within your own group. We've gone down this way because I think it's the better way for me. But with that process, it takes time and experience. So that's his quote on sort of the leadership or the lack of leadership at Tottenham Hotspur. But my question to you, Jack and Dermot, is, why I think we do have players that should be doing it, that are actually shirking responsibility. And I sort of want to know why they're not stepping up to that leadership role. You've got Romero, he's a World Cup winner. Bentancur brings vast experience. He's won things in Italy, and he's also a very experienced international player. He's got nearly 70 caps for Uruguay. You've got Son, Ben Davies, who are both seasoned veterans at Tottenham Hotspur. Maddison has an FA Cup to his name not so long ago as an England international. Basuma's in his prime. Solanke is a seasoned Premier League striker. So whoever wants to come in on that first, are these players shirking that responsibility? And why are they not stepping up to the plate?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think
one is.
No, I'm kind of debating over it. I can't really give a confident answer towards it. I think some of them are trying maybe the best that they feel like they can to be that leader. But I think nowadays it really does require to break those kind of cliques, break those, sort of, kind of groups and, kind of, I think there's a lot of clickiness oftentimes in kind of modern football teams where you have guys from either certain leagues or certain countries, speak same language, come from the same background, same culture, end up, having to, kind of cluster together. And then you have all these different sort of cliques and groups inside of a squad. And I think what the leader has to do nowadays is they have to be that guy that can sort of bring them all, connect them all together. He can walk into any group. He can walk towards any table in the mess hall and be able to, have a chat with them, be able to sort of, get the respect, but also be, well-liked. And like I said, charismatic. And that takes, real character. I think that takes, someone who is, outgoing, someone who's confident in themselves, confident in how they speak, how they come across. That's not always, the case nowadays. They're already world-class footballers. In some case, it's already then hard enough to be kind of a world-class human being as well, where you're somebody that everybody likes, someone that everybody looks towards, wants to be friends with, wants to be that guy that you feel like you can be motivated by. And so I think you need someone that, maybe in the modern kind of squad, modern sort of football can break all of those kind of clicks and also get through to players that might be a bit shyer than others, ones that maybe aren't willing to always kind of be out there, be, kind of responsible. And I think that's difficult. The guy that I'm starting to think about that probably does embody that would have no problem kind of embarrassing himself to try to get everybody together, has no issue with how he's perceived, has no issue with how people look at him. I think Vicario kind of embodies that. He does seem to be that sort of crazy guy that, is reading motivational books, at every single evening when he has time, is watching some documentary about some sports athlete to get some sort of inside edge. And is the guy that, like you saw, Dave, the other day, is, trying to coach from the sidelines, and kind of looks a bit silly, looks a bit kind of ridiculous. Even Ange is kind of laughing at him. But that's kind of the energy that even someone like a Roy Keane would probably, validate or say, what, that's a real leader there. That's someone that doesn't care how he's looked or how he's perceived. And he wants to be heard and he wants people to, take him seriously. So for me, I think Vicario is probably that guy, but maybe some people just can only lead to the best of their ability, but it's not necessarily enough, and that might be Sonny, that might be Maddison, that might be Romero. They're trying to be good leaders, but they're not necessarily the best possible candidates to be that person to do it, even though they might be trying their best.
No, 100%. And look, sometimes I question, no, are they trying their best though, Jack? Because, if I'm a player and, I want to win, right? Nobody likes losing games. Let's put that clear. Nobody, even if you are losing, nobody likes it. But I damn sure would step up and have my say and have no problem pulling people out or, giving people directions on the pitch or pulling them up if they're not doing the right thing. I'd have no problem doing that because my burning desire to win is going to try my goddamn hardest to drag everybody with me. And I don't see that on the football pitch. I don't see anyone that's willing to communicate. I don't see anyone that's willing to pull people out. Well, we can see it. Everyone looks up in the sky. There's no one standing there pointing, pulling people together, pulling people out for that mistake, telling them not to let it happen again, or even sometimes going over, putting an arm around a player. I do not see it. And I think it leads to a lot of our ups and downs on the football pitch. Dermot, what's your thoughts on those situations?
Look, I think it's down to the individual player. I rarely do. I mean, if it's in you, it's in you. If it's not, it's not. You can probably grow into that role. But Jack said it spot on. Everything he said, I agree with, because there is a lot of cliques in dressing rooms, countries, teams that you've played with before, and you need to have that one player, as Jack said, that will go round. And I don't think we have that at Tottenham. How many dressing rooms have we had over the last 5, 6, 7 years? That the Welsh clique, the French clique, this clique, that clique. A dressing room should be united around one captain. He's the leader. You look at the great Man United sides over the years, Roy Keane, and there was a majority of 3 or 4 of them experienced players. They were driving that dressing room. And that's the problem, that the experienced players ain't driving the dressing room. It's always somebody else's job. And even on the pitch, Romero's supposed to be this big player, this big captain. He's won the World Cup. You see him playing for Argentina, he's shouting, he's roaring, he's pointing fingers. And when he plays for Tottenham, he's like a shrinking violet.
Yeah.
He's half the player. There isn't, and it's just really annoying because they've got it in them. James Maddison as well. Instead of sulking after being taken off, where was it, against West Ham? He should be in that dressing room at half time. Right, lads, I'm one of the vice captains here. This is what we've got to do. Take the job over for Manchester Postecoglou. These are what these captains and vice captains have to do in the dressing room. Sometimes take the job out of the manager's hands. This is our responsibility. You don't see that at Tottenham. And mind you, don't see that a lot of teams either in the Premier League, to be fair. And I think it's football how it's gone. We need to get some back to the old days. And I know somebody called me a dinosaur in the chat, but I tell you one thing. I'd rather be a dinosaur than live and play in this era of football where there are a bunch of... I can't really say because I'll get you demonetized. But,
please don't. Or cancelled. No, don't do that.
Yeah, a bunch of wallies, let's put it that way, where there's no backbone and no fight. Where back in the day, there was backbone. A player could go up to another player and rock him. A player could go up to another player and put his arm around him. You can't do that now because that player won't accept it. And it's a sad sign that football's gone that way. And I think it's a sad sign that we've gone that way as a club. Absolutely. The leadership group needs to be changed. There has to be different players in there. I would put Kula in that leadership group myself. I don't know what you guys...
The thing is, lad, I don't think we have them. I think it's something I think we're going to have to buy, to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah, I think so.
In that. But I do want to move on. I want to welcome some people here, but also want to move on before the live still come out, because sort of a bit of speculation about what Tottenham are going to do tonight. But I want to welcome in Thomas as well. Good to see you, sir. Hopefully you're keeping well. KPV, great to see you back. On your bike, Scott is on his way to the game. A lot of delays, my man, a lot of delays. So hopefully you can get there on time, Scotty boy. Just a harmless potato says, we are lacking a healthy dressing room hierarchy. The big three, Son, Romero, Maddison, have to adapt. Fair point. J Mac, like Hans said, you don't need the armband to lead. You could be one of the younger players. It doesn't matter. He's waiting to see who will pick up the mantle. Fair point. Absolute great point. Eugene S says 402 watching and only 135 likes. I mean, look, your boy failed maths in school, but I mean, even I know that doesn't add up, and I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So please, let's up that, because I know some people think it's stupid, it's minuscule and stuff like that, but it actually helps us grow as a channel and all that sort of stuff, pushes out in the algorithm. So the more thumbs up you hit, the better it is for us and any content creator out there you guys love. We've got Michael W. Lots of good names listed there, but I wonder if Ange allows these guys to really shine as leaders during games. Just seems like we are missing a certain something on the pitch. I understand what you're saying, Michael. Just quickly, but Ange's style is known that he doesn't have a big handle on the dressing room. He lets the players manage that dressing room. And look, some people may say, "Oh, that's wrong," but in modern day football, you hear a lot of players. To be honest, even Sir Alex Ferguson didn't really have a big grip in the dressing room. We just went in there and delivered a rollicking every sort of time he wants, every now and again. And it's sort of like, he's trying to see who the leader is, who's going to step up, who's going to get fed up with the inconsistency and start dragging people with him. Michael, big up though. We also have Kempston Spurs. Says, evening lads, on the way to the game, being sat on the M25 for 3 hours after an accident. Spurs better make up for it. Come on, you Spurs. First of all, good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Hopefully you do get to the game on time and that you can enjoy a victory tonight. That's first and foremost. Also, second of all, hopefully, it's not a serious accident. No one likes that, especially this time of the year coming up to Christmas and all that sort of jazz. No one likes it. So hopefully they're all safe. But I wonder, will that mean kickoff might get delayed and stuff like that? That'd be interesting. If that does, we probably hear it'd be three in the morning, to be honest, if it gets delayed any later from 8:15 p.m. But big up Kempston Spurs, and hopefully you get to the game. Really appreciate it. And do you know what's bad? Really appreciate you tuning in while you're sitting there in traffic, actually, on the way to the game. It's nice to know that people go into the game and that do listen to us and stuff. So really appreciate that, lad. We've got Tyler, exactly, Dermo. Good to see you, Tyler. Good evening, sir. We also have Ugly Fish. The leadership group was always a bit of a weird idea for me. We got 4 now. For me, I don't understand it. It used to be captain, vice captain, and then you'd have a couple of other strong sort of individuals in there. This whole leadership group, I mean, it's just putting a tag on something to make someone feel valued, in my opinion. It's stupid. We've got Sebas Wolf. If we lose, you guys think Ange will be in danger to be sacked? Look, personally, I think that's more from fans' point of view on what they're seeing rather than, the way to put it is, Sebas, I don't think the board have any notions of sacking Ange anytime soon whatsoever, to be brutally honest with you. I don't see it happening. I think, yes, there's a lot of sort of Ange out, sack Ange, this, that, and the other amongst the fan base, and they're entitled to their opinions. They pay, just as much as we do to follow Tottenham Hotspur and stuff like that. But I think it is more within the fan base rather than Postecoglou's head sort of being on the chopping block. What I would say is, though, I do think a lot more fans would be Ange out or would turn to Ange out if we get knocked out tonight. Fans do not like going out of the cup competition. So I do think a lot more fans will be swayed to that sort of opinion if we get knocked out. But from the board's point of view, I don't think he's close right now, to be honest, Jack. You're on mute, lad.
Thank you, Dave. Sorry. Completely agree with every word that Dave said there, Sebas. I think it's more a fan kind of pressure that's happening than really it is any pressure from the board. My feeling is I think probably Spurs are giving Ange at least until the end of this season to, make any sort of decisions or judgments on whether he is good enough or whether they do feel like he is the right guy in charge. I feel like they're going to give him till the end of the season, unless it really spins out of control or something like that, which I don't see that happening personally. So, yeah, that's what I kind of sort of see it as. That's from the board perspective, at least, though.
Big up, Sebas Wolf. Really appreciate the support, brother. Hopefully you're keeping well. I haven't had the chance to play pro clubs with you yet, so we may get on that at some point, my man. Big yourself up, Sebas. Got King Huddle. I burnt my fish fingers because of you, Dave. I hold you personally responsible. Good, because you know what? Fish and fish fingers is the worst food on the planet. So I've done you a favor, in fact, actually. It's the Lord sending you a sign saying, fuck that. Go and order something better from the takeaway or your favorite restaurant, King Huddle. So big up, my man. And then we've got Stefan Blois. For the love of God, please let this year be our year. I don't want a bus pass or be 10 feet under by the time we win a trophy. And look, that's the older I get, that's the sort of what I'm staring down the barrel right now. Is that I don't think I could see Tottenham win anything before I end up being 10 feet under, my man. But big up, Stefan. Good to see you as always, sir. And hopefully you're keeping well. And then we have this from Al Benny Boy. He says, we are third in the highest spend. Are we spending too much money for okay players? Because the top ones will only come with ridiculous offers, our profile. Do you know what, for me, I think part of it's got to do with the the high turnover of players we recently had to undertake. But I do think, yes, and I've always said this, Tottenham spend money. Do they spend it on the wrong things? For instance, this summer, we all knew we needed leadership. We needed more experienced players in here to come in and compete with the first 11. We didn't do it. We went and spent the money on youngsters. And that's sort of a stat that's being attributed to Ange. Oh, spent 400 million on Ange. Okay, but how many of them were actually on first teams to come in and improve the situation? I'm talking about the likes of your Verlies, your Bergvals, your Grays and stuff. There's already 100 million out of that 400 million that we've spent under Ange Postecoglou. That hasn't been on him. You know what I mean? So for me, I've always said this. I think we go so far under a manager, it looks like they're on the cusp of achieving, and I'm convinced Daniel Levy doesn't want the pressure in, season out. Because once he delivers one, the fans are going to be like vampires. We're going to demand it every single season, and rightly so. That's what we're here for. That's what we all want in football, is to win trophies. Levy does not want that pressure. So when they look like they're about to achieve, all of a sudden we change course. Why did we get rid of Paratici when we were on the right path with him? Not get rid of him, but why doesn't he have as much influence when we were on the right path with him? Why all of a sudden do we just pivot and bring in Johan Latin, who, by the way, Aston Villa got rid of to improve their situation and take the next step, but we bring them in. I don't understand that, and I do think that's part of the problem. It's what we spend the money on, to be quite frank with you. We're constantly in the midst of, we bring some players in for a manager, and then we sign a lot of players that other people around the club want in at this football club, and then, therefore, that leads to third highest spend, but what do we get for it? Jack, anything you'd like to say to that, Ben?
I think Spurs are spending more to probably in the future, hopefully not have to spend as much. I think they've been spending a lot on young, very talented players that they hope at some point in the near future or maybe far future can be some of the best players in the Premier League, some of the best players in and around Europe, some of the Alejo Valise signings, Luka Vuskovic signings, the Youngman Hook signing, all Archie Gray signings, Bergvall signings. I think a lot of these are all just piling up so that they feel like maybe 50% of them, they feel like, are really small cash investments, but one of them will turn into, or maybe at least 50% of them will turn into 60 million to 100 million pound players in the future. And I think that's what Spurs are hoping to do, so that they spend money now on guys that they think eventually will be so good that they'll be first team players that won't need replacing or anything like that, so that they don't have to spend as much money down the road. That's my theory. With it also kind of checks out with how Levy would sort of look at business. Maybe he'd be happy to spend a lot of money now to hopefully not have to spend money later when he can 100%. Rake in all the profits of the NFL, concerts, Champions League, all that sort of stuff.
100%. He'd probably have to start finding other revenue streams, because Beyonce might not be available soon with all the stuff coming out about all that sort of situation. So, but big up, pal Ben. Really appreciate the support, sir, and hopefully we have answered your question. But let us know your retort, as they say, the posh word retort, in the comments, please, Al Ben. But guys, just quickly before the lineups do come out, they're going to be out in 2 minutes' time. Guardiola has sort of hinted in his post-match interview after the last round that he could play some academy stars at Tottenham, after previously admitting that his club will not waste any energy on the Carabao Cup this season. But regardless of Guardiola's decisions, I think many Spurs fans want Tottenham to go strong regardless and try and give it a go and get through to the next round. But Postecoglou himself made it clear in his conference that he will rotate his troops, much like he has done for all the midweeks games so far this season. Now, if he does do that sort of rotation, it's not going to go down well with the Tottenham fan base whatsoever, who see this clash as potentially being bigger than the upcoming game against Aston Villa. So I sort of want to know off you guys. Let's start with you, Dermo. What sort of lineup are we expecting from Postecoglou tonight? Because I think there's been a lot of mind games between both managers, quite personally.
I think there has. I'm expecting a strong lineup tonight by Spurs. I'm expecting a lot of the team that started against Palace to start tonight. I think he wants to put them players out, right? Prove to me you can put in the performance. I think you might see a few changes. Probably Ben Davies probably will come in, which I know.
Have you already got the team open there, Darmo?
No, I haven't. No. You're going to throw your hat in the ground probably, and it probably just stomp out. Feck this, and Jack as well. Feck Tottenham tonight. Ben Davies is playing. I think there will be a mixture. I think there'll be a mixture, but I think he might start strong. I think Pep will have a strong side out as well. I think it's a load of mind games. I'm going to play the youngsters. We're not taking the the League Cup seriously. He gets a sniffer for trophy. He's like, right, do you know what I mean? I'm going for this. But yeah, I think Ange will go strong. We have to. We have to go as strong as we can. For Aston Villa on Sunday, this is a chance to get in the next round of a cup competition. Let's go for it. And let's put down an intent that let's make ourselves one of the favourites for this tournament.
Look, we win this, I think, we'll definitely go into the favourite category. That's for sure, Dermo. But look, it'll be very interesting to see what sort of Ange Postecoglou does do tonight. Jack, just quickly before the lineups do get
refreshing
posted,
every other second.
So am I. What are you expecting in terms of lineups, Jack? Because Postecoglou did throw a spanner in the works by saying he will make rotational changes. Now, of course, that could mean he might make 2 changes, right?
Yeah, I listened to the press conference, Dave. I was a little nervous by what Ange had to say, to be honest. Like, I was kind of like, I don't know. Again, I wish Ange just sort of said, nothing without saying any, wish he just said nothing instead of saying something. But I think he should go with the strongest possible lineup. Also, you've said this to me, like, we have a break. Isn't our next game on Sunday anyways against Aston Villa?
4 days later. Man City are playing Saturday at 3.
We have an extra day than we already would have if we had played, on Thursday, if it were a Europa League game. So I think there's less of an excuse to say, oh, I'm just trying to give players rest here and there. I don't think that's necessarily much of a thing to say here. Maybe it's only going to come out an hour before by the looks of things. Some people are saying 7, but maybe it's not going to come out.
Yeah, usually it does come out an hour and 15 before. That was the rule. They changed it. It used to be an hour. They said an hour.
Might be different for the cup games. Could be different for the cup games. You never know. It's not like we know all this stuff.
I'm sure they'll be leaked in the next few minutes anyway. They'll be out.
But yeah, Dave, that's what I would say. I'm hopeful he goes for a strong lineup. Maybe he's just playing mind games like you were suggesting, because I don't know. I think that would be a big mistake. And technically, he has not a huge rest, but a decent rest between now and Sunday.
Hopefully. Tekken saying our stream's gone funny. Is anyone else having the same issue? Please let us know in the chat if you are, guys. Leighton Evelyn saying no VAR tonight. Yeah, I find it strange considering we're
it's the League Cup as well. Why would there be? You feel like the FA Cup would be the one that would be no VAR, because a lot of the teams that can go far in the FA Cup would probably not have VAR capabilities or VAR abilities. If you have a decent run, if you're a lower table side or a lower league side, sorry. But then in the League Cup, it's mostly Championship and Premier League sides that make it to this stage. So that's a little confusing that there would be no VAR.
I think they brought it in last season. There was no VAR in the League Cup, apart from the semi-finals and the finals. I think that's when they used it. I think. It's so... sorry, Dave. Go on.
No, go on.
I was saying it's so stupid. They can't even bring in the new offside rule. We're still waiting for that to come in, and I'm just scratching my head thinking the rest of Europe can do it, but the Premier League or the FA, whoever won, can't do that simple thing. So you just scratch your head. You think, Jesus.
One thing I will say is, look, I think it would be refreshing to watch a game without VAR sort of getting involved. And it'd be a really good test for the officials to see how actually they get on without VAR and stuff like that. And see if they can still referee without relying on, 3 other idiots up in a square somewhere, nowhere near the stadium. But I also question, if you're going to make us play with VAR in Europe, in the Premier League, when there's a capability for us to be able to use VAR in terms of a cup game tonight, I want us to be able to use it. You're going to be consistent with it. Don't pick and choose what competitions you want to use it in. We're a Premier League team. We're playing another Premier League team. There's no excuses for it. If we were going to Championship, League One, stuff like that, who don't have the capabilities, fine. I'm okay with that. But if we get done by a decision that VAR would have overturned tonight, I'm going to absolutely lose my shit. I'm going to lose it because I think it's stupid that we don't have VAR for today's game, quite frank. We've got this from Al Ben. He says, just quickly, actually, rude of me. AK Shakes, a Yank in London. I'm not sure if I can use that term. I think I'm a friend of Jack, so I'm probably allowed to use that term. Yank in London. Any good Chinese food items I must try. Look, I don't know if there's any crazes that go on in London that's, of Chinese food that's London orientated, but I know a spice bag originated in Ireland. It's basically chips, shredded crispy chicken with peppers and chili peppers, onions, and all that, whatever other vegetables they use. I don't know what they are, but they're nice. Basically in with spices and salt and pepper and that, and a bit of curry sauce. So if you can find a Chinese that does a munchie box or a spice box, more or less same things. Try that. That's the recommendation I have. Let me know if
Leicester
anyone else in the
Square.
chat has recommendations. I can bring them up.
I think it's called, again, I'm also a Yank, AK Shag, so I can't really say that I know too much about London, but I do feel like I think it's Leicester Square or Leicester, whatever it's called, Plaza or
Oh,
something,
yeah.
has a pretty large Asian community and seems to have some pretty authentic stuff there. They even have that sort of that Chinese like duck roasting or spit type thing where they're kind of sitting in the bay window, and it's just always lovely sights if you're a meat eater of any kind, just seeing kind of ducks just roasting in the window there. So I think it's Leicester Square area is actually quite popular and supposed to be
It is
quite
Leicester
famous.
Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Soho's right next to Leicester Square, and Chinatown is right beside Leicester Square, and there's
Okay.
loads of brilliant restaurants and everything all around there. There's actually 2 good casinos as well, but that's something different. But there's definitely there is, believe me, I know there is. But there's Soho there, and you've got Chinatown and Leicester Square, so you've got everything sort of in one big
There you go.
area. So yeah, I would, plenty of stuff there.
Well, there you go, Akshags. And to be fair, the chat is actually popping up and giving you things to try. So you want to be starving going here. He says, Tekken says chicken or beef Szechuan. And by the way, great choice. I'm not a fan of spicy food, but the odd time when your boy's feeling a bit adventurous, a bit good, I will go for a little sneaky Szechuan. And it sort of hits the void that I need for the next 6 months. So not a bad choice. Now, I don't know whether whether our own followers are trying to get us cancelled or not, but people are saying this place, go to Chinatown. Apparently, it's a place in London, so make sure you get there and check it out. Loads of people are recommending it. And then we've got Wincy, big pancake roll. He's gone for that. Not a bad option. And Paddy Harnett says, forgot about your posh food, straight to the chicken. Or forget about your posh food, straight to the chicken. Do you know what, Paddy? I'm going to be honest. My first time trying chicken, I was all over it. I thought, fuck me, what a chicken burger. Am I going to find that somewhere else? And I stopped ordering chicken burgers in places for a while because it didn't hit the spot the way chicken did. But I'm not going to lie. The last 2 times I've been over there, I think the standards have dropped. I question new cooks, maybe new ownership, because it's not the same. And I think they have lowered their standards. And I've had better in other places over the last little while. Controversial, I know. But look, and if anyone from Chicken does watch the channel, probably don't. But if you do, and you think I'm wrong, no problem. Bring me over, give me a chicken burger, and prove me wrong. But big up Paddy Harnett. Really appreciate support. But guys, we got this from Albion, actually. Big up Ridgy as well. Great to see you. Go on, Dermo.
As I keep telling you guys, KFC, that's the place to go for your chicken. I told you in London. And
Supermax if you're in Ireland.
Yeah.
Supermax if you're in Ireland. Yeah, unbelievable. We've got this from Albion. Yeah, they are very, very nice. Got this from Al Ben. Says, Jack, you are right. Cess Young, Jack Clark, great, etc. Ever since Leedy got lucky with Bale, seems to keep trying this approach. I would argue, though, just quickly, I know this is directed towards Jack, and I don't want to take it. Right. We will let Jack in on it. But this is an approach that Tottenham have done for quite some time. You look at Walker Rose, for instance, picked them up from Sheffield United and Leeds Academies. Aaron Lennon, we brought in Jan Vertonghen, young from Ajax, Luka Modric. This is something that Tottenham have always done and has always served them well. When we tend to go after young players, we tend to get it right. And I think the period you're referencing there, Jack Clark, Cessi Young, is probably the period where we got it so wrong. The only period where we've got it wrong with youngsters in terms of signings, I would argue. But sorry, Jack. I don't mean to steal your limelight.
No. I think Al Ben is, he's agreeing with my point, but I think Daniel Levy has kind of gone a little bit back and forth. Like I think during the Jose Conte period, I think he was trying to find some sort of gems, that he didn't have to pay too much money for, that he could end up, selling on for a ton of money or end up not having to feel like, it was, a lot of money wasted. I think there was the Joe Rodon signing kind of comes to mind. Someone he felt like maybe would have been a good opportunity type signing. And then there were others. It did feel like, though, that he was trying to buy some more cheap for the here and now type of guys, the Matt Dohertys and whatnot of the world. But I do think Daniel Levy is going back towards, and maybe even really, I think more than he ever has before, I think is really digging deep into these young, high profile type of young, kind of talented signings, because he seems to think that that might be his golden ticket to not having to spend very much down the road, or being able to sell on some of these guys for huge profit and huge assets as well. And I wouldn't put it past Daniel Levy to see a trend in football and then try to really, ram it down, the whole, club and the ethos of the recruitment team. So that's just my thinking. I think he's doing the bail strategy that you're suggesting even more than he ever did before. I think he's doing it harder than ever before.
And that's purely because I think the price of wages now and the price of transfer fees now, it's going to push him even more. Oh, Jesus Christ, I sound like a scout girl selling cookies there, down that direction, even further, to be honest with you, Al Ben. Big up, really appreciate the support, guys. But guys, left wing is one of the controversial talking points for tonight. Like I said earlier on, 17-year-old Mikey Moore, I think it's a big ask to get him to start 3 games in 6 days, which means we are going to have to go with someone else. Jack, who's that left wing tonight? Not who you want to see. Who's going to play?
I have a feeling he'll probably go for Richarlison. I think he is giving Richarlison minutes here and there. I think he has a bit of a soft spot for Richie, from what I can tell. Doesn't seem to dismiss him or say anything that negative or anything about him. Not that Ange does do that, but I do feel like he tends to recognize maybe and mention Richie more than he necessarily needs to. So I think it might be Richarlison given a spot at left wing tonight, maybe with Solanke up top. And then on the right, it should be Brennan Johnson. I think he's probably gotten a bit tired of the whole Timo Werner thing. I also wonder if he knows that there's a lot of fan, kind of disgruntlement when it comes to Timo Werner as well. Maybe he just doesn't want to bring on that pressure on himself. And then with Mikey Moore, you said this to me, Dave, Mikey Moore, he's actually played a lot of football recently. And for him being only 17 years of age, not probably the best idea to just roll him, game in, game out every single game. You got to give him a break here and there. So I think it's going to be Richie or Werner, but I'm hopeful it's Richie, and I think he might go with Richie.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting. Dermot, yourself, what's your thoughts on it? Dermot, do you agree with Jack that he could go Richie tonight?
I'm going to totally disagree with Jack just for the fun of it. I'm just doing it for the sheer hell of it. I'm going for Werner to start. We can't have us all agreeing. Look, I would love Richie to start. To be honest with you, I think Richie will give you more on that left-hand side, more desire. But I can just see Werner starting. I don't know why. I just got this in my stomach that he's going to pick Werner.
Yeah,
you don't know why, because you just said that you're just going to disagree for the sake of disagreeing. That's all you.
But I'm just doing it for the sake, just for the sake of it. But no, I can see Richie being played up front actually instead of Solanke. That's where I think Richie's going to be played and put Werner on the. I would love Mikey Moore to start, but you can't play him 3 games in a row. No. But I'd love him to start. He's young enough, and I think I'm playing for a good 45 minutes, but give him the experience of playing against one of the best teams in the world. Why not? Why not do that? But I would play Richie up front. I wouldn't play Richie in the wing because I think you're sort of. You want to get Richie confident in scoring goals. And I think if Solanke goes out, you want a confident Richie up there. That will bang them in for you. But we definitely need a left winger. And like if Werner starts, I'm just going to hide behind my couch all night and just pick my head up. So when he gets the ball, just hide. And just when he has got the ball, watch the game and get a cushion. Because he drives me mental. Yeah. He rarely does. Werner's not a bad player. You've seen him when he's played.
He's useless, Dermo. I'm sorry. I do have condition. I have compassion for a human being, but he's a bad player.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is in Germany, he's great. He's not a Premier League player. Not a lot of players suit the Premier League. They suit other leagues. Maybe the Premier League is not the league for him. But in Germany, he was great in Germany. But maybe the Premier League's not his league. He is useless. I agree with you. But, to me, there is better players out there, but maybe the Premier League's not for him. Not everyone suits the Premier League, to be fair. And he's one of them.
I'm not sure football's for him, to be brutally honest with the way he's kicking. I think he should try rugby, become the kicker or go to the NFL and do specialist teams. I think that's more Werner's thing now. But look, of course, I'm just going to say this. If he does start today, I will get behind him. Hopefully he can do the job. Although I hold absolutely zero faith. Now, one thing that is pissing me off is the lineups usually come out an hour and 15 before kickoff. It's absolutely messing up my feng shui, if people know what that is. Usually we get off an hour before or half an hour before we do to start the watch along. And, now they're bringing out the lineups half an hour before we do the watch along. So they're absolutely ruining the feng shui today, but they should be out in the next minute. I think one other thing to look out for is maybe the midfield. It'd be interesting. Does he go with 2 number 10s? Personally, I'm not sure you're going to get away with it against someone like City. And I do think that's something that we might have to tweak coming up against the bigger teams. I think one of them, either Madison or Kulu, might have to drop out tonight. And I think you should bring in someone like Papa Matasar to have that extra body in there who's going to add a bit of extra security and get behind, get around and get the ball. But here is
I think your internet's going a little bit there, Dave. Looks like you're lagging out a little bit, so maybe I'll take over, at least on the reading aloud of the lineups. Vicario is there in goals. Archie Gray. Oh, looks like we have Dave back. Oh, maybe he's going to come back out and come back in. Vicario's in goals. Archie Gray looks like he'll be playing in the back line. Romero and Dragishin together with Van de Ven. So maybe Archie Gray at right back, Romero at center back, with Dragishin at center back, and then Van de Ven out on the wing as a fullback. Excuse me, on the left-hand side. Sar Bentancur is the midfield kind of double pivot, with Kulusevski is the more designated number 10, with Johnson, Solanke, and Timo Werner. He loves a little Timo weenie, doesn't he, Mr. Ange Postecoglou? He can't avoid it. He loves it. It's his guilty pleasure. Fraser Forster is on the bench. Pedro Porro is on the bench. Ben Davies is there as well, with Destiny Udogie as an option for fullback just in case. Basuma, Bergvall, Madison are the midfielders that we could bring on to make an impact. And then we also have Mikey Moore and Richarlison on the bench as well as some of maybe the attacking substitutions. When it comes to players up front, we really only have 2 guys that can actually make a real impact in the forward line, at least. And so that's a slight concern, right? You have Richarlison, who's still trying to get minutes under his belt, still trying to get into the shape of things. And then Mikey Moore, who's a very young, very talented, but also, needs experience type of guy as well. So the fact that we don't have necessarily a ton of firepower off the bench for the forward line is a slight concern. And then the midfield, I'm actually all right with that. Having Bergvall, Madison, Basuma as options, I think for the most part, I think we can take that. And then Pedro Porro, Davies Udogie, of course, we're fine with. It's just his love of Timo Werner. I think that's just the big surprise tonight, or maybe the big debate. But I think the rest of that team, I'm not too sure if there's much surprise there. And perhaps there's a little bit of relief that even he's gone for Sar and Bentancur. And that was the point that you were trying to make, Dave, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Bringing in Papa Matasar and Bentancur, I think having them as 2 sort of pivots gives the backline extra protection, gives us a bit more control, or gives us a bit more battling qualities in the midfield, because tonight you are going to have to battle for the right to be able to play. And I think he's recognised that by dropping one of the number 10s, a.k.a. Madison, and bringing in someone like Papa Matasar. And I'm also glad he made the decision to play Bentancur over Basuma, because I think Bentancur is a lot tighter in possession, and it's what this game does require. Just quickly, though, I know some people might look up at the lineup and see Van de Ven at left back. I think it's very, very exciting for most. But see the likes of Gray come in at right back and stuff like that. But I do want to put context to it. This is Manchester City's lineup to face Tottenham Hotspur. Moreno or Ortega in goals, Lewis at right back, Stones and Akanji at centre back, Ake at left back, Gundogan in centre midfield, along with McAtee and O'Reilly, Savinho, Nunes, and Phil Foden. He does have a lot of his, and then on the bench they have Ederson, Diaz, Kovacic, Haaland, Bernardo Silva, Gvardiol, Wright, Simpson, Pussy is actually his name, believe it or not, and Alpha Ruprecht. So that's the City team. So midfield, with our battling qualities, you would hope we would be able to get a bit of sort of joy in there with some of the youngsters maybe that are going in there, or maybe O'Reilly and McAtee might go on the wings with Nunes and Savinho or Foden going in there. But, they do have a couple of academy players out. So that's context to our lineup. But look, I suppose we'll get Dermot's quick thoughts. Jack, me and you will give ours on the watch along and our score prediction. So we'll let Dermot give his and score prediction and find out where people can find him. Dermot, what's your thoughts on the lineup?
I like it. I like the lineup. He's gone strong. I think Van de Ven at left back, I'm excited by that. I think that's, we've been calling for that for a little while. I think, look, Werner, we all knew he's going to be him or Werner. And as soon as I saw it, I went, oh, God. because I was sorry for Jack, because I know Jack wanted Richie on that left-hand side. I think put the kiss of death in it by saying Werner was going to start. But look, if he scores tonight, I'm behind him. I want him to do well. I don't know why Jed Spence isn't anywhere in that lineup, but I think he might be still injured. And that Man City lineup, look, that's a beatable Man City side. I don't care what anyone says. It's a very beatable. I know they've got Hart the Freak, Haaland on the bench, and Foden's playing, but the rest of that team does not scare me one little bit. I just want to be putting that on the dressing room wall and say to them, right, lads, prove to me you're the best team in the land. Let's beat them. But I think it's great. Gray there. I'm pleased with Gray. Romero's captain. Rudu getting a shout. Van der Ven. We were all asking for Romero, Rudu, and Van der Ven to play together. So we're going to get outside tonight. That midfield, right? I think for me, it's the perfect midfield. You've got a 6, an 8, and a 10. That for me is balance. And then up front, you've got Brendan Johnson, who I think is going to do well tonight. Got Dom Solanke, who's going to get a few tonight. And you've got Timo Reno, who should score, but he probably won't, and be taken off at halftime to avoid the criticism. But look, I'm going for, I went for 2-1. It's nearly match time. I'm going for a 3-4-0 win. I'm going for it. I'm sorry, lads. I'm back. 4-0 for me. After seeing that Man City lineup, we're going to win. We're going to smash them. Spurs are on the way to Wembley. And if you like what I have to say, and you do like, we're only sort of 63 or 64 away from 2K. I would love to get there before Christmas if you can. But yeah, if you'd like to come and join myself, Colin, Boris, and also Tottenham Stig, who's not been well. He's been in hospital with COVID. Thankfully he's coming home tonight or tomorrow, I think. So please send your best wishes to Tottenham Stig. And we look forward to having him back soon. But yeah, come on, guys, just hit the like and subscribe on the channel. Get to 2K, and please do it here too. These guys are the same off YouTube as they are on YouTube. They really are one of the nicest people you'll ever wish to meet, and one of my closest friends. So for me, I wouldn't have anyone say a bad word to say about either of them. They're both gentlemen and both really close friends. So yeah, they really are gents, the pair of them. And thanks for having me on again. I love coming on these bump ups.
Great job as always,
Dimitri. It's always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure and a joy to come on here. It's always a privilege. So thank you very much for having me on.
Appreciate you, John. You're very, very overly kind to us. We're very appreciative of it. Good to see Daniel Larson popping in towards the end there. Hopefully you're all right, Daddy Larson. And
good to see you. We got Dark Sung G as well. He says decent lineup, but City are sort of strong lineup.
Yeah,
Jack,
I agree.
We'll let you take this.
Yeah, I agree. I think City went with a slightly stronger lineup than I would have expected. If Guardiola was making such a big deal of practically playing the academy players, I don't think he's really done that. He's still gone for a version of his best defense, right? He's gone for a Kanji. You see John Stones there. Yes, there's no Walker. Yes, there's no Gavardiol, but he still has Rico Lewis, who's like a pretty, pretty consistent first team regular in the team. Even guys like Mateus Nunes, they don't play a ton, but they are still like 40 million pound, 50 million pound players that they're bringing in off the bench. Gundogan, we know, is, an established pro. Nathaniel Ake is a very good player as well. Like, I think they have gone for a decent lineup, and Phil Foden, is always a good player. Savinho is a good player. And then James McAtee, I actually think is, a talented up-and-coming player through their ranks. He was on loan with Sheffield United. He looked okay for them. He looked like he was good at gaining some good experience and seems to be a tricky player. So for the most part, I think they've gone with, yes, a weakened team, but is it really that weak? I don't think it is. I think it's still, this team would still qualify for Europe, in my opinion.
One thing I will say is O'Reilly is a good Irish name, so I'm going to have to do a bit of digging in there. Maybe we have, some generational talent coming through for Ireland that I don't know about, Dark Sung G. But big up, my man, and we will be kicking off the watch-along in about 15 minutes' time, so hopefully we see you over there for the big build-up to the game. Big up James McDonald sneaking in here as well. Big day for manager. Look, to be honest, I don't want the manager's job. I want Chirpy's job, to be honest. He gets to be there every single home game. He gets to be pitch side. Quite frank, I don't think he's enthusiastic enough, to be quite frankly honest with you. I think I would do a better job, James McDonald, but big yourself.
Taking it for granted.
Yeah, and lastly, guys, I was sitting there lying in bed today, this morning, and a Van de Ven sort of lyrics came to my head. So maybe it's God give me a sign, Van de Ven at left back. Maybe we're going to see something brilliant, and it's him telling me to get a song ready for the guy. So hopefully he does well, scores a goal, and I can unleash that one for you this evening. But guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who tunes in for these pre-match build-ups. The numbers are absolutely insane. The support is incredible. And you know what? It's great to see so many people like me, who will sit there 3-4 hours before the game and just want to talk to them. It's absolutely great to see. So I really appreciate every single one of you. I never take it for granted. So thank you so, so much. Also, to the guys like Dermot, Soren, and everybody else who's come on, once we've done these, giving up their time in the day to be able to come here and do these with us, when really Dermot could be sitting having dinner with his missus and stuff like that. He chooses not to. So I really appreciate that from the guys as well. And then lastly, to people who do go the extra mile, with us. With us and most other YouTubers, no one has any big wigs behind them and stuff like that. They all put it together off their own back. What you see on screen takes time to put together and stuff like that. So the extra support is absolutely appreciated. And I want to say a massive thank you to Eddie, Spurs GCTV, Peter Kagayas, Dermatron, even though he's on the panel, John Lee, Moondog, The Perfect Match, Jacob Anderson, Rob Wallace, Anonymous, Sebas Wolf, Al Ben, and Dark Sung G. Thank you very, very much, everybody. And guys, I need 15 minutes to just breathe, get myself into delusion state. It's Cup Day. I'm super, super excited. Despite what's going on against Palace, we're about an hour out from kickoff. I'm really excited. Cup Day. I love the fucking Cup. So, guys, see you back here in 15 minutes' time. Come on, you Spurs. In the big hands we trust.
Come on, you Spurs.
We never stop, baby. Let's go.
Come on, you Spurs. See you all later, everybody. Get ready, grab your drink, grab something to eat. We'll see you all for the watch along. And show some love to Dermatron. Go over to THFC till I die. But yeah, great job, Dave. Great hosting. See y'all later. Come on, you Spurs.
And in the words of Timo Werner,
get a hat trick.
Auf Wiedersehen.